There it goes. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of No Excuses with your favorite show hosts, Aristil.
Brilliant.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and games. Hold on.
What?
My brain just sort of died mid-sentence, and every thought just went into vapor. Let me start again. And I'm Volacel, and we're here to bring the latest news and games commentary for the week that was, such as it was, with all three of us here today. Ed Fern didn't say he was leaving early, but I don't know whether or not he is. And you can there. Apparently, my brain is not working. I had too much beer before the show. Yeah, that. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff, and you can send us your email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw. I haven't really been taking care of that account lately. Been too busy. Or you can join us in the Discord server, which is the best place to communicate to the show hosts and other listeners to the show. You can get there by clicking on the link provided in the show description underneath the show archive on YouTube.
Yes, indeed. This week, me and Vol did the Star Rail patch. We both have words that we can actually get into with it without spoiling anything. But Fern, I don't know what he's done because haven't heard from him much this week. And other than that, I think me and Vol have both been busy. I have a little bit of old school N64 games I can talk about, but not a whole lot.
It's always a good time when you can go back to the old stuff.
I hoped I would have some more VR stuff I could talk about, but I had to call and make a warranty claim for my right controller because it got
Drifty?
yeah, but it's my own fault. When I was cleaning down here, I knocked it and had it accidentally wedged against something.
Okay.
So I wedged the stick permanently in another direction, and it was wedged pretty hard. So I just destroyed that controller. But they honored the warranty claim. So
Okay, well that's all right then. Yeah, otherwise it'd be you got to fix that thing yourself.
yeah, or buy a new one, and those are not cheap.
Yeah, warranty claim though. I looked at going that route when I had serious drift. Not so much drift, just what do you call it? Just basically bad reception. The thing would just do whatever it wanted.
Claimed this controller for drift twice.
But
I'm on my
yeah, I
third
just
controller.
replaced the thing myself.
Yeah, a lot of that is tracking as well. You can
Yeah.
you can fix that with software resets and just delete your history of boundaries and stuff and thoroughly clean your cameras.
So yeah. I haven't done a whole lot in the VR space lately. I really should get back and find something to do there.
Well, they added
Not
like
sure what
5 new mini golf courses that I haven't played yet, and that's what we were gonna do.
they have. That's a chonker of a patch too.
Well, it was it's been they add one every month or every other month.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
Yeah, it's been like 4 months since I was playing last. So there's a ton of new mini golf courses that I wanted to try, but that'll have to wait till later next week because they said they'll be shipping out a replacement controller
Nice.
on by Thursday for me. U.S. privilege with
Nice.
shipping.
Yeah. If I get it shipped, it'll probably have to come from, or if it doesn't come from overseas, it'll come from Melbourne, and that will take at least 2 weeks to get to me.
Right.
Assuming it doesn't get eaten.
So we're gonna help Fern kill a box.
I have an Emily to build. We're going to fight a box. Right. Oop. Box is annoying. Fight, if you recall.
By the way, don't look at me because I'm just here for the last phase.
Yeah.
I'm playing an off-field support as an on-fielder, so don't look at me either.
It's literally immune to all of my damage. Oh, I'm dying. Here, I can do a matrix for you. Records of the Fall.
I don't know what that achievement was for.
I thought we would have had all the Chivos for this guy by now.
Apparently not, unless it's just a general one. Whoopsie.
So
Mavweeka got Mavweeka'd.
Oh,
It's Nahida time.
yeah, Nahida time.
Yay. That's why I hate doing this thing.
I need boss kills, so it's fine.
Yeah. Alright. Now, some character leveling. And while I do some character leveling... Oh, actually, we should probably not stand here in case it respawns on us. Let's get out of the way.
I really relish the opportunity to play Yomiko because she's fallen off so badly.
She needs another
She's
day in the spotlight.
easily one of my favorite characters. Probably my top 3 favorite characters.
Yeah. All right. Weeks then. This week I still kept chipping away at Grounded, though I'm not that. Didn't do as much of it as I would have liked. Beat the Black Widow, beat the Undershed Dungeon, which is a massive stupid thing, which you cannot double back on, as it turns out. So yeah, I beat the Black Widow and figured, okay, that's the final boss of this place. Let's just go explore and find El Scientisto. But no, there's another big boss right behind it, almost immediately behind it, and no way to get out of the dungeon.
We're multiplayer, so we all have to move out.
That's okay. I'm doing character first, so I can poop out while I would do that. So yeah, thankfully, what is supposed to be the final boss of, I guess, chapter 2 was actually surprisingly easy, despite all the build-up they give it. So going on saying how it combines mechanics from the 4 previous labs and how this is kind of the ultimate challenge and all of that. And no, I went in there with expired buffs and almost completely broken armor and still managed to just body it. So I probably would have been in trouble if I'd run out of healing items, but beyond that, yeah. So yeah, I'm into the point of the game now where I do a tower defense section and then I can hit the bad ending, I guess. So yeah, still a good time. I still hate Black Widow spiders though, because they are just mean. Other games, I also, because I got basically invited to, dusted off a bit of Guild Wars 2 and fiddled around with that for a bit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people trying to get back into it lately. I'm not sure why. Maybe they deployed a big patch or something.
They're putting out a new expansion.
Ah, I see.
But when I last tried to go back to that game, I've become so used to being able to play games with controller now that just playing an MMO with mouse and keyboard, like,
it don't work.
It works. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Surely there's enough like flexibility in software that you can just rebind things to match FF or something.
Through Steam, if nothing else.
It from what I recall, it used the mouse cursor a lot. That was the big shoe.
It do.
I don't remember.
I need Lake Like Lilies. What are those? Where do they come from? All around Fontaine.
They're like little blue boobles.
Yep, and also more green. Green. So, yeah, I really haven't touched the game since we played it way back when it first came out. Incidentally, to make you feel ancient, that game is 13 years old.
I've gone back and dabbled in it a few times, but not ever stuck with it for any length of time. It just didn't jive with me to the same extent that the original did. Like I played Guild Wars 1 for a long time. Like it's very formative in my MMO gaming career, as it were. But I never really stuck with Guild Wars 2. It just didn't have the same oomph to me.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, the game's 13 years old, but unlike most MMOs, you go back and play it now, and it's almost exactly the same. They
didn't need to change very much. Like a lot of their stuff was pretty state of the art, and it drew very heavily on lessons learned over the course of time. Mainly the thing the thing that makes it seem old is that it's a relic of its era. There's nothing wrong with what they do because they were sort of like the matured version of standard MMO tropes and mechanisms. But
Yeah.
I don't think that you could change anything that would be terribly meaningful, other than to like shortcut the story, I guess.
Which they give you plenty of options to do, and they've already expedited the leveling process, so you can more or less just stick to doing the main story, and that's it. That'll get you most of the level way up.
All the Traherne you could ever want.
All the Traherne you could ever want. And that's why I'm not going to ever play a Sylvan again. I mean, considering they're a bunch of tree people, and they have probably one of the coolest ideas for their racial armor, where essentially they just grow it on their body. It looks really nice. But that means you get double the turn if you go down that route, and nobody wants that.
But I mean,
He's
that
there
was another one
right
of
from the get-go.
those. That was another one of those lesson learned moments, though. I think that the industry as a whole learned that one.
Yeah.
Like you don't write. Oh boy, I was standing in the wrong place. You don't write a story where the player has to take a back seat while some author's pet steals all the glory.
Yeah. Incidentally, that's the very reason why DC Universe Online. Mavwika, why do you just die for no reason? Didn't even get touched by anything. She just died.
Because she's that fragile. She has like no defense, and you shouldn't
She
be
is-
building any HP on her either.
You're gonna have to
No, she is the glassest of cannons.
you have to do white damage.
Why are
to that
you
thing.
doing? Yeah, don't do dendro damage to the dendro core. It's not going to help.
No, it's not going to do anything.
I feel like I'm being disproportionately responsible for this point.
I can build burning on it, but until it does that, yeah. So yeah, I didn't fire up my old character because frankly I don't remember a thing about how it works. I made a new engineer and started fiddling around with that, and beyond a few tweaks behind the scenes, like just rebalances here and there, the early game experience is exactly the same. It's just faster.
Yeah, I remember the crafting system being incredibly Byzantine. Like I spent a long time fiddling with it. I don't know if I ever got much out of it, but I did while away a lot of hours.
Though they were the MMO that really kind of standardized the idea of the materials bank, which is really nice. WoW has a materials bank now.
Skirt.
They put that in. When did they put that in? WoD, I think. But yeah, it's still kind of terrible.
WoW had a materials bank?
Yeah, it's got a materials bank. I think it was Warlords of Draenor that came in.
It definitely wasn't in Warlords of Draenor. Unless I'm just brain farting harder than ever. I don't remember ever seeing it exist, and I poked at the game all the way until early Legion.
Let me see. When was it introduced?
I don't remember. I'm not willing to rule out Warlords of Draenor. My memories are too fuzzy.
5 years ago. It was in Legion. No, it was WoD.
The thing you got to remember about Warlords of Draenor is that was more than a decade ago.
Yep, and
like,
also
your memories are not going to be clear. I'm sorry.
It was also bad.
I don't think it was that bad, considering what came after.
Compared to what came after, Legion was okay, but then
Legion was decent, but yeah, it was followed. It was followed by BFA and then Majala, whatever that was called.
Yeah, that, and they had the spicy curry shits right at the end of Legion as well with that whole Illidan nonsense. So let's just write a really bad fanfic and call that the main canon now. Ugh, jeez. Anyway, so yeah, it is still a good time. I'm just haven't tried dungeons or anything, so I don't know how well they've aged. Well, they haven't aged at all, I suppose.
They were quite. I don't know if they were actually bad or not. That's the thing, or if they were
When
just
we
so
w-
far out of left field because they were very experimental compared to
Yeah,
the mainstream at the time. Maybe they
the
were bad, or
whole
maybe we were trying to play them wrong.
well, when they first launched it, the whole idea behind their dungeon design was to kill the triad of power, your tank, your healer, your DPS, and have everyone do whatever. Well, and basically, it ultimately really means that everyone does a little bit of everything. So I believe, if I recall correctly, that they kind of backpedaled on that. So having a dedicated tank and dedicated healer will still do a lot better than just throwing freeform, but you can still play freeform. I hate this stupid boss.
Don't look at me. I'm just a cheerleader. Like, I don't know what you want me to do.
Okay, now it's your turn. Whee! Okay, there we go.
Man, energizing them really does expedite the process.
Does, doesn't it?
Wonder if it's enough to counteract burning them. Or if burning somehow also makes it go faster.
Maybe. Oh, no, burning doesn't tick while it's invulnerable, so yeah.
No, we're talking about the nodes.
Oh, okay.
Do they respond to burning? I didn't know they did.
I don't know.
I thought it was just the ones that work in the open world Dendro devices. You spent way more time in Sumeru than I'd ever did. I haven't spent any time in Sumeru.
Honestly, Sumeru is probably my... Well, no, actually, Leeway is probably my least favorite area, but Sumeru is a close second.
Only reason I really dislike Leeway is that it's so hard to navigate using the tools that we had at the time. It's probably not so anymore with Netland characters, giving you a little bit more freedom. But everything was so vertical.
If you remove the Aranara from the forest section of Sumeru, the forest section of Sumeru would be my favorite area.
The Aranara quest is long and honestly kind of tedious.
Kinda tedious. Only kinda. Tedious. Only kinda.
Well, I've still got part 2 there. Apparently, I haven't done yet.
Try like part 17.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It doesn't stop.
It does not stop.
Well, have you done the whole Aranara yet?
I've started the Aranara. Like, I got the quest. I've got that silly book. That's all I've done.
Like, that was a month and some change project to finish. It did not go quickly at all.
Yeah, our quest was just, oh god, it just kept going.
And it will keep going.
Never stops.
I need to farm an on-field set for Yomiko.
Whoop. Mavwika, you are the squishiest.
You max level yet?
Yeah, she is.
Got orange relics? I mean, she's supposed to squish. Just go into squish.
She is supposed to squish. Yeah, she's still got some orange relics. I don't think I've got a full... Oh, actually, hang on, I might do. I'll have to look.
I mean, yeah, if you want full orange relics, that's what you want.
Yes. Yes. All and really good.
Also, probably helps that we're not trying to activate those with 3 Yao Yaos.
I mean,
I think my yeah is still level 40. Let's not go there.
then you're doing it wrong. You need to empower the Yao Yao.
I still use yeah. I still use her for things.
Mine-
My weaker is only level 80. Hang on. What do I need? Oh, right. I need to do a whole lot of stuff in Matland with that.
I unironically used Yo in the combat challenges for the summer event.
I mean, he's Dendro.
It works.
I needed burning. What am I going to do? Like, when it comes to repeated application, Nahida's not going to accomplish the job.
No. See, where am I at? I need one more green. Why is my terrible luck?
I saw somebody playing Nahida on a clip on YouTube, one of the ones that was delivered to me auto-translated from the Japanese community, and they're just like running around Mondstadt with Nahida, taking photographs of all the Hilichurls and doing like 50k damage a head.
Maximum attack damage and crit damage in Aida.
I'm not sure what that person was doing. They had in their team Sitlali and Raiden Shogun and somebody else. Can't remember who.
Should be doing one more time.
But taking a photograph for 50k is a bit like, I don't know how they
Bit
got
silly,
there.
yeah.
Because the algorithm keeps feeding me clips of people showing off their C6 at Lali.
The algorithm seems to be just filling my feed of rage bait drama posting. Kind of getting annoying. You click on one that's talking about an interesting topic, and that's all it takes. Okay. What else did I do this week? That was honestly about it. It's been a weird week. Sort of week that, yeah, whenever you try and go to do something, something happens, and then you have to go walk away and never come back to it in some cases. So, yay, I guess. You are kind of making me want to go back and play one of those games. Incidentally, the Patapon remasters have popped up on Steam a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no.
Yeah, to get that earworm in, and incidentally, the input lag that was on the PS4 version is apparently still there. So great. Yeah. So you can't really play Patapon 1 with input lag. Rhythm games and input lag do not mix. Incidentally, I forgot to mention it a few weeks back. They had a demo for Ratatan out. It's roguelike Patapon is what that is. I'll probably play Ratatan when it comes out because it is equally as earwormy and you can't get it out of your head. It's the same basic team behind it. It's just a lot more colourful, a lot more cutesy, rather than, tribal eyeballs.
Patapon. Why are you tether?
Pon, Patapon.
Probably a good thing they don't make games that earwormy anymore. Between that and Loco Roco.
Patapon.
I'll pick that up when it's on sale, actually. But yeah, okay. It's been generous with the Quell Creepers this time around, at least for me.
Level up Yo-Yo. Well, you don't want to level up Yo-Yo right now because you got to level up Emily.
I got to level up Emily, and I don't need all my green bits for that. But that is that. I think that's all my. Yeah, that's my resin for now. Yeah, I think I will keep picking at Guild Wars 2. Not doing anything serious with it. Just play through the story. Get up to level 80, and then maybe look at one of the expansions. Maybe. We'll see.
I've heard that some of the expansion content is really sterling.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. The classes that they've added, the new subspecs, look very interesting as well. Some of them are completely out of left field, which is really cool. Like, for the newest expansion, the engineer gets basically a mimic tier they play with.
I
And that
see.
your class works around this Mercury-built simulacrum that you kind of ooze around the place.
That goes and solos the boss for you, and you sit in the back, and then you claim you beat the boss, and you're just as good as people that actually played the video game. Right, got it.
Thankfully, not quite that good. Not quite that bad, I hope.
You get to have Volume and Hydrogyrum
Yes,
from Fate.
I guess. So yeah, there's other stuff in there that looks really cool. The Reaper class, I still can't figure out what that's all about. It's about being edgy, I guess.
Is that the Reaper
There's already
class?
a Necromancer.
I thought
Yeah.
you said something that sounded like Mareep at first, and I'm like,
I mean,
the
do you
sheep.
want an electric sheep?
Yes, actually, I'll take that class.
I will take an electric sheep class, actually. Yes, thank you.
Aristo always wants to play the sheep character.
Yeah.
Sheeps are
So
adorable.
you've got the Necromancer, which is edgy classic, and then you've got the Reaper, which is anime edgy.
As soon
all
as there's
about
a sheep,
invoking-
Theron and ZZZ Aristo's going to main it.
Yeah. So yeah, I will keep on going through that. I think you can get up to Circle of Thorns. Was it Circle of Thorns? No, that's City of Heroes.
Crown of Thorns.
Crown of Thorns. Where Traherne dies. If I can make it that far in the story, I think I'll be happy.
It might be worth it just for the catharsis.
Just for the catharsis. Because yeah, as bad as it was, I played Sylvan during the first time around. I had double barrel Traherne.
I played bog standard human, I believe. I just didn't really find the other races very appealing.
I genuinely, that game did not leave any impression on me whatsoever, so I don't even remember what I played.
My first character, my character that I reached max level with, was Necromancer, but the character that I spent the most time just sort of generally dicking around on, I think, was a Greatsword Mesmer. So just pew pew.
Mesmer's looks so much fun.
Mesmer, I would say Mesmer was actually way more fun in Guild Wars 1 because you had zero, like, upfront ability to do anything of note. It was everything that you had, because remember, it was a very PvP focused game. Everything that you had was based on interrupting and baiting the opponent. Like, your ability to do, like, upfront damage was hilariously trivial compared to virtually every other class, but you could do ridiculous amounts of damage by just sort of like hexing your opponent and tricking them into doing stuff that would punish them.
Yep.
It was really fun to play.
You actually screwed with their minds.
Yeah, it's like you were sort of like you could force them to play the way you wanted them to play by levying very hefty penalties against them doing what they wanted to do. But you couldn't just kill somebody, like that wasn't a thing. There were some direct damage abilities, but they were incredibly costly for very little payoff, comparatively speaking. I played Necromancer mainly in that game, but I played Necromancer Mesmer, so I used all of the Necromancer punishment curses alongside the Mesmer punishment curses, and so I would basically participate in PvP by standing inconspicuously somewhere near the edge of the main conflict and then applying as many debuffs as I could to everybody who wasn't watching, because none of them really did anything on impact. Like, you didn't notice until you decided to like go into your burst combo or something, and then every ability that you cast did like 40% of your health and damage or something.
Oh, that's just mean. Yeah, from what I can tell, the PvP scene of Guild Wars 2 is still alive and well. That was kind of what they built their game around after all, so yeah. Unlike other certain games, they didn't forget that solo players exist as well. So yeah, what else did I do this week? Oh yeah, anime. I sat down to watch one series anyway to start to get back into things. When High Bob was actually behaving itself, it's been a bit hit and miss this week.
I just use regular Bob. I don't know why everybody's still using high anime, which is notoriously jank.
It is incredibly jank. Because I think, well, 9 Bob is dead.
No,
9
it's
anime.
not. They just put it back up.
Yeah, it got a
Like,
new.
Okay, well,
It got a new
I'll have to
error
check
not
that.
not too long ago.
All right. Well, last I looked, it was dead in Australia too, because half of those sites get the Great Australian Firewall gets them.
Yeah, it's got a new dot URL. It took them a while to find one, but they had to act like
one that they hadn't used already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to act like they were dying and dead for goodsies because well, their owners got and their owners got doxxed when
they had to fake their own death. So yeah, I'll have to have a look because yeah, I'd rather go back to 9 anime.
Meat Festival.
Meat Carnival. The worst level of an otherwise great game. Okay.
Do not take YouTube any of our explicit admissions as tacit endorsements. By the way,
and also please don't feed us anything using the algorithm that is related in any way to Meat Carnival.
No, best not. Unless if it's from Psychonauts, that'd be okay. I'm so disappointed in the sequel for that game, but honestly, there was no way I was not disappointed.
It just happened to be being made at a point in time where like Schaefer was at his like maximum libshittery phase.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing he was interested in was his ideology at the time.
Yeah. Oh, there's treasure down here. So I watched at least the first half of Sakamoto Days, which people have been saying was really good.
I've seen a lot of clips of it going around social media. I don't really know anything about it. It seemed like it's about some assassin or something who decided to give up and become a normal person after falling in love with a shop clerk or something.
Oh, is that the fat guy?
That's the fat guy. So because of the way the hitman industry works, you can't just walk away from the hitman industry when you decide you've had enough. So all these hitmen keep coming at him to try and kill him and claim this stupidly big bounty. And so the anime basically revolves around villain of the week showing up to try and kill him, realizes that this fat guy still has it, and getting their face handed in, kicked in. He picks up a bunch of weird kids that come along with him. Well, I say kids, they're really just like young assassins or / mafia kid. And beyond that, that's it. That's the whole plot. It's just dumb fun for the most part. That said, it does occasionally just get dark out of for absolutely no reason sometimes. Particularly when it's other hitmen showing just how cruel and badass they are, and means you're going to see heads chopped off and things. So it goes from goofy, flappy, jiggly fat man, and then suddenly horrible, evil bad guys. That did work. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Wasn't sure if that would work or not. So yeah, I'd recommend that one. It is fun. I'm not sure where the second season is going to go just yet because the first season kind of ends with some really, really bad guys getting out of jail. One of which who just scrunches people into a ball, and that's how he kills people. So make of that what you will. Thankfully, they haven't actually showed him doing that yet. So yeah, I will recommend that one. I do need to find more anime to catch up on though, and I'm half tempted to do Shield Hero, but I know what's going to happen if I watch Shield Hero.
You're gonna see a turtle.
I'm
It's
going to
Spirit
see a
tortoise,
turtle.
man.
Ostensibly,
Definitely
it's
on
a turtle,
spirit tortoise.
The turtle.
and you're gonna see a plot that had a whole lot of promise and did pretty good in the manga. Go at warp speed, and if you have not read the manga, you're not gonna have a clue what's going on.
Yeah, maybe I just watch season 1 again and leave it at that.
But the turtle is also a pretty lady somehow, for some reason.
Somehow.
The turtle is also a waifu.
Don't ask about turtle waifu.
We can't help you with this one. I don't think. We could stand next to the.
Forget how.
You gotta find the torches.
I don't even know how you activate these yet. Like I just haven't really played with it very much.
Hit that thing with Dendro?
I'm pretty sure you just gotta Then you zap them.
Pew 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 pew.
Oh, there we go. How's that? Now you light the torch.
Oh my goodness, you need how many different elements in your party?
3.
But why though?
Yep, you gotta turn him back on because you lit him on fire by accident. You Dendro turn these guys on, and lightning to make the things visible, and then fire to light the thing. You gotta turn it back on. your pyro keeps killing him.
He gets too close. Well, actually, oh no, I see what the problem is. It's the Mavwika Halo just keeps blasting him randomly.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to where we were before. What about the other one?
There's probably another one around here. Oh yeah, it's up here.
I found it.
Another friend.
Oh yep. All right. I'm gonna leave it at that because that's my week. Really, it hasn't been a big week. At least not about nerdy stuff anyway.
Can't reach him.
Pew 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 pew.
There we go. No, you're gonna murder him.
There's still one more to do.
Oh,
Is it?
oh hang on. Got friends.
Is it going? Yeah, we probably should play with these guys. Oh. Or you could just detonate them. That's fine too.
I just sat on him. Oh, here it is. We need Animo.
Where?
So that's 4 elements. Who have I got? That's Animo.
No, we got it. Just gotta light it on fire now.
Oh, you got it? Alright.
Not light it on Dendro. There we go. Victory.
Yeah, I don't think you can light things on Dendro.
Not with that attitude.
Right. So for Vol's week, I'll probably interject, but let him lead it since he's more into Star Rail than I am.
Right.
In the meantime, I'm going to go to Fontaine because I need blue jiggly plant thingy.
Follow you around and sit on things.
I'll just
What?
sit on a statue of the Seven and contemplate.
What do you need, Fern, specifically? I can figure out where they are.
Hang on. Do I have a? Hang on. I need. Lake Light Lilies.
You need a track Fontaine specialties person.
Do I have track person?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Who has that? I know that Clorand has it. I don't know who else has
Lenny has it.
it. Lenny.
Lenny. Yeah, but that involves using Lenny.
You also don't.
Charlotte only has racism. I like how Charlotte's passive ability is just generally referred to as racism by people.
What does it do?
Oh, it adjusts her stats based on how many Fontanians are in the party.
Ah, yes.
So, yep.
Let's see. When the party contains 1/2/3 Fontanians other than herself, Charlotte gains 5/10/15 healing bonus. When it contains 1/2/3 non-Fontanians, she gains a 5/10/15% cry damage bonus.
So she's happier and heals better when there's more Fontaine characters.
Yeah,
She's
basically she gets mad when there are non-Fontanians in the party. So that's why people call her passive racism. Anyway.
Lynette gets track recovery orbs, of all things. Okay.
That's not helpful.
That is not remotely helpful.
Let's see, my week. It's joint firing drill week in Blue Archive, so I haven't done any Blue Archive. Nobody likes joint firing drill. Too much beer. Genshin, again, not much, because I haven't had time to play the current event that's going. The current Spiral Abyss is skewed comically in favour of Electrocharged, so I'm not looking forward to attempting floor 12. I don't really expect to be very successful, because it looks like it's slanted way out of favour with the way I play. I think that we are now entering into the you're out of meta, you're out of luck phase. So, but I don't really care about the end game in Genshin. Like, I very much love the world of Genshin and sort of tooling around in it, but I just do not give a toss about Spiral Abyss. And as little as I give a toss about Spiral Abyss, I found new depths of not caring to feel towards Imaginarium Theatre. Because, I mean, at least in Spiral Abyss, if you want to autistically play your team that you like and you want to play, you can do it. And if you are sufficiently autistic, you can probably still clear with it. But in Imaginarium Theatre, they actively make you do things that you don't like. If you're like, I don't play this character because I don't like them, then they will put Dory in the mandatory lineup. So, yeah. No, thank you. Stygian Onslaught was just as unsuccessful as usual. I just don't have the degree of autism required to care enough to clear that. Like, I can only clear like 2 out of 3 sort of bosses, and then the on meta one I just can't. So same deal as Ari last cycle, where he couldn't clear the cryo one because it needed too much cryo. Well, I can't clear Cactus because none of my teams have the brute power to do it without complying completely with the electrocharged requirement. If I had really built Xingqiu up, then I might be able to. Also, maybe not, because, well, Clorand has fallen off the power curve compared to most of the characters currently seeing a lot of use, which does not mean she's useless, but people who do have her and have her built amongst the people who do like the game basically don't use her, because she was made almost entirely redundant by Verisa. Because Verisa does more damage. Just to start. Before you think about mechanics or anything like that, they just made Verisa more powerful than Clorand.
Oh, I can help you cheat those.
Don't know why, since that's sort of like an obvious losing proposition to take a character that currently exists and then make another character who is just better than that one, but every game does it. That this is a rather short time scale to do it over, since it's, they're only one patch apart, they're only one version apart, major version apart. But yeah, they, I guess, just wanted to keep moving that power curve along rather than wind up with another situation where everybody has Bennett in their party forever. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't really have much left to do in the main region that they introduced. It was a fun place to explore, and I'm sure we will spend more time later during the show and the weeks to come tooling around there just because it's there and there's stuff to see and stuff to jump around on, etc. Because that's just how you do. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's not really that much for me in Genshin now. The things that I haven't done are the current event that is running because I haven't had time, and the Muzak, I guess. I have another Muzak thing.
Got to do your 4 minutes DJ Max.
Yes.
I'm just bad at it, so it becomes a chore. I really like a lot of the music. I particularly like the some of the stuff from the earlier deployment. Like I really like Hotel's song. I think it's fun. But yeah, that I think that's about it for that one. Yeah, I was really busy during the week because it's for New Zealand it's a liturgically important week because uh Friday was the Solemnity of the Assumption of Our Lady, which is a major uh, feast of obligation in New Zealand, meaning that I took annual leave for Friday so that I could honor the feast, and then we just had no staff, so I had to rush back to work anyway afterwards, meaning that I had to cram in the entire day's work into the back end of the day, and that just put me well behind. So it's been a tiring week, but it usually is. Currently going through the hiring process to find more staff again. I
Are
make
they actually gonna let you hire anyone this time?
pardon.
Are they actually going to let you hire anyone this time?
This they have to at this point because we're in a dire state at this point where we're like bringing in people for casual work and 6 days a week work and that just to keep running. They can't try and trim the budget that way anymore. It's not going to wash. But yeah, some of the people who have applied have got some major red flags. Some of them seem okay. We'll just have to wait and see how long it takes to get somebody on board. The standard notice period for junior staff in New Zealand is 4 weeks. So it takes a month for a person to leave their job. So even when we do hire somebody, we're still going to be understaffed for quite a long time. That's just the way it is. So yeah, that sucks. But it is what it is. I tend to make a practice of hiring relatively young people, usually ones that don't have a lot of experience because basically they're less neurotic and less opinionated about the way things should be done because they don't have any experience that tells them, oh, no, I want to do things my way. Most of the time, like probably about 3/4 of the time, works out better. But you do end up seeing them leave in time. But you know, I'm frustrated by that, but I console myself by telling myself, well, I gave them the opportunity they needed to get started in their career when getting employed against the tide of Indian applicants is really hard in this country. So yeah, like the last two people that left, like one of them went to their dream job working as a researcher at PHF, which is a major Crown Research Institute, and the other one got their dream job with the New Zealand Police working in forensics, of which there are
Nice.
very few positions in New Zealand. Because I mean, everybody probably remembers that around like 20 years ago, there was a huge boom in the popularity of doing forensic studies as your
Oh,
tertiary
when
course.
Yep.
when like NCIS and the Forensic Files and all those shows got popular.
When
Yeah.
the true crime phase really got going.
Except there's like in a country the size of New Zealand, there's like maybe a dozen of those positions nationwide,
Oh, there's
but
like
there's like a dozen classes of 30 people doing it every single year.
Huh?
But one of my people managed to land one of those jobs. So, yeah, he's relocating across the country to do that. So,
Yeah, good for him.
yeah. Anyway, so ZZZ, there is nothing happening this week except for a non-event event. They have those. The thing is that I don't think that the Star Rail team gets though is that people still perceive that as something to do, and it's embedded in a context that gives you something to do. Like, because you basically do that event within the free play areas, which means that in all likelihood going to wander around and have some fights anyway. So it still registers with the brain as playing the game, even though it's basically, you know, menu exercise.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, I think that the Star Rail team has taken a utilitarian perspective that they don't need to include those events because it's basically the same as the Facebook game. And they are not entirely wrong, but they are wrong enough that it does make a difference. But yeah, so there's not really anything happening in ZZZ right now. I reluctantly finished all the Bond events with Lycaon, who I unfortunately pulled in my last pulling spree. At least he's still relevant from a mechanics perspective, but I don't really have any strong intentions of building him up because, like, I mean, this if I need a couple of stun characters, well, Fufu is the most adorable thing ever, and Trigger has assets of her own. So I don't really need Lycaon for anything right now. But yeah. Anyway, so nothing happening in that game, and it's going to be dead for a little bit while presumably the staff sleep for like a week. I sure hope that it's because they are resting and not because they are creating content slower because they're all dying slowly.
They had a bright shining idea and now they're working double overtime for some super mega event during 2.2 or something.
Well, the worst would be if they're still trying to produce at the same cadence, but they've just got so many sick days being called in that
Yeah.
they can't produce as fast. But
Fern,
yeah,
I'm watching you
hopefully
get
they'll be
so
okay.
close to solving this puzzle and it's hurting me.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my positioning right.
Why do you hit the ones that are going to trigger first?
Shit.
Backing them backwards.
Yeah, all right, I get it now.
Anyway, so that's that. The other Hoyo games have basically been silent. I'm not playing Honkai Impact 3rd right now, because I'm not caught up on the story. Don't know when I'll get caught up on the story. I reinstalled Wuthering Waves just because my timeline keeps talking about it. I don't really intend to play it, but I will attempt to, you know, pick up the resources that they drop for patches in case I do go to play it at some point in the future. I have mixed feelings about the aesthetic, but there are some things that I like and some things that they don't, and they're sort of finding their feet artistically, much in the way that most of these types of games do. And people say that the story has gotten really, really good in the latter couple chapters, like exceptionally good. And even I've seen people rate it as being, you know, like well above basically all the Hoyo games. And I'm not talking about partisans either. I'm talking about some of the people who actually play all of the gacha games as a career on YouTube. And they'll say, yeah, like Wuthering Waves' story was kind of blah. But they've really picked up the pace in the past couple patches and it's really good. So maybe I'll get around to it. But I can't imagine investing myself in it too much. Unless one of the other gachas I'm playing falls off massively the way that FGO did. Because despite the amount of time and indeed money that I put into FGO over the years, I did stop playing it just entirely. Because it fell off. They weren't producing content that I wanted to play at the pace that I wanted to play it.
Fern, put it right here.
They were slacking around basically and taking for granted their audience. And I don't like to see gacha games go down that path. Anyway, moving on to an ominously, not quite, but almost related topic, Star Rail. So, the 3.5 patch hit, and I was too busy at the time that it hit to actually play any of it, but I did pull Hysolins because I used to play Dot as my main team back in the day, and I would like to be able to use that team again. So I got Hysolins and I got her signature light cone. It was costly to my reserves, and I basically I got drained dry almost the way that I did in ZZZ, so we're sort of at the bottom of the barrel. So if I really want to go in for Silverwolf next banner, it's going to cost me actual dollars. I do like me some Silver Wolf though. She's one of my favorite characters. So the odds are still reasonably high that I'll do that, but we'll see what happens. In terms of her performance, she performs quite well. It's always hard to tell how well a character performs in a vacuum because when they release all of the game modes are going to be in shill mode, so they're going to exacerbate the performance of the teams that are favored by the current banner character. So they're always going to look powerful. But Iceland's does perform extremely well, and she gives another critical piece of kit to the Dot team. But in a lot of ways, she doesn't do anything much more than be a better Black Swan. Now, she does what she does. What she does is the same as what Black Swan does, but she does it in a very different way. Different enough that they can work together on the same team with no clashes. And so that's what I do. But and also having two different characters doing two different strategies of the same thing also works very well with Kafka, who's the linchpin of every Dot team in the world. So the team as it is currently works very well. However, there is nothing about Hysolins that prevents her from falling off the power curve exactly like any bland DPS would. She just doesn't do anything particularly special. Now, you could avert that and give her more longevity by creating like a standard premium Dot buffer character who happens to lean really hard into her abilities. If you were to do that, it would probably come at the expense of Black Swan's usefulness rather than help both of them, although there are probably ways that you could help both. But basically, Black Swan's approach is creating a stacking buff that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger the more times dots tick. So forcing dots to tick as many times as you can before the buff falls off is the trick to it. I think I've only managed to max it out a couple times ever, because of the number of turns you have to take to max out the buff the debuff is really, really high. But so yeah, basically she does big bursts every time her dot goes off, but it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. Iceland's, by contrast, does number of little hits. So she creates clouds and clouds of small numbers when you make dots tick. And so basically she triggers a lot of times for a standardized amount rather than triggering really for an ever increasing amount. So that's the major difference between the ways they work. But both of these things are things that are just like, well, you do stat-based damage, and so you're going to fall off in due course. So they don't have anything... Hysolins doesn't have anything that is going to prevent Dot from falling off quickly again the way it fell off quickly last time, simply because the game is obsessed with pace. Like, everything is about the number of turns you take to do anything, and turns passing is required for the baseline level of Dot damage, which is why Kafka is so critical to the archetype, because without Kafka, you really can't force that damage to happen. Hysolins can do it to a small extent herself because her ult does the same sort of pop that a Kafka can, but of course it's her ultimate, so she can't use it very often. And her best builds have her moving quite slowly anyway, because you kind of just need her there to maintain her effect on the battle rather than have her taking actions regularly. And Kafka is the main mover on those teams. So yeah, the Dot team as it currently works performs very well, but I don't have a strong sense that it's going to continue to do so, especially considering what we do know about what's coming down the pipe doesn't suggest that that's going to be the case. It could still be the case because of one of the things, and maybe I'll go into that a bit later, but it doesn't seem very likely it's going to be the case. It doesn't seem like it's going to be supported in the short term. Anyway, moving on. I haven't touched the restaurant event at all because I just haven't had the time. I intend to get around to it, of course, but I haven't even tasted it, haven't started it, don't even know what it looks like. So, can't say anything about that myself. For some reason, my sinuses are completely clogged all of a sudden.
Charming.
It's making me get out of breath because I can't breathe through my nose while I'm talking. Right, story-wise, it's kind of a shambolic mess in a lot of ways, and that really jives with some things that I've seen. Things that I intuited about the way things were happening at MiHoYo. So the first thing that stuck out to me is that the localization has gotten even worse. Like, they are just taking more and more liberties with the writing. Now, I play with the Japanese voice track, and the Japanese is not the native language of the script. However, the Japanese localization is usually A, closer to the Chinese, and B, just generally better written.
Mm-hmm.
The English one this time has a very distinctive veneer of fan fiction over it. Like, the person who is doing the localization fancies themselves a writer. And so they are making changes that they think are good for the story that don't appear to be in the script originally. Like, unless the Japanese are suddenly taking a lot more liberties than they normally do, these things are probably being added by the English. But like, there are phrases and clauses and sentences that are missing or added. There's changes in nuance, changes in diction that don't make any sense. They've completely abolished certain references in that. Like, the most obvious and upfront one is that Serja refers to herself as Caesar in the Japanese script, which makes sense because she's an usurping dictator for life who is trying to establish a new dynasty and then go on a series of overseas campaigns of conquest in order to secure their military might and the power of their nation. Okay, so that makes sense. There's a historical allusion here. They have for no reason just changed that to Imperator in the English.
You mean Imperator?
Well, I don't.
Imperator?
It depends on how you
It-
want to pronounce it. I don't know.
They made a very conscious effort, based on the clip I watched, to have every single character say Imperator, and you can tell it is very unnatural, and the voice actors don't normally say it that way, and they know they normally would say Imperator.
Well, Imperator is how you would pronounce it in ecclesiastical Latin. I don't know if it's how you would pronounce it in reconstructed Latin. In Japanese, in the Japanese voice track specifically, Serja does use reconstructed Latin, which is the academic version of Latin that people have tried to reconstruct as what would have been spoken during the period where Latin was the lingua franca of Rome. Well, it's arguable whether Latin ever was the lingua franca of Rome back in that period, because most of the common people spoke Greek, which is interesting because Serja's name in the Japanese script is pronounced Kirudora, which is how her name would have been pronounced if it was a Greek name being said in Rome. Now, Serja's not really a Greek name, I don't think, but how it would have been pronounced in Latin by a Latin speaker if they were a Greek person would have been pronounced like that. But which I thought was an interesting touch, and having Serja actually speak Latin was also an interesting touch, which only exists in the Japanese as far as I'm aware. They did that. They went out of their way to turn that into Latin because it was more appropriate, which I think it works quite well. But the problem is that they've smeared the English has smeared the references out over a great deal of time. You can come up with reasons why that's the case, but there's like a 100-year period over which all of the references in the Japanese take place, but in the English that's expanded to about 400 or 500 years, which doesn't make any sense because that's half a millennium of history. Like, you're not referring to a particular thing at that point. Now, maybe nobody's going to pick up on that.
I guarantee
they know a little bit about classics.
There are single-digit people that picked up on that, if that.
But it's just sort of a little bit annoying to me that they've just done things that they think sound cool, not things that actually suit the plot. Like, using Imperator as a title, like, well, okay, that's fine. She does sort of serve in that capacity, but the thing is, she's not part of a dynasty, so it doesn't really make any sense. She's an usurper dictator, which makes sense if she's being an XP of Julius Caesar in place, but it doesn't make sense for her to be an emperor because she has no patrimony, and she has no successors, and has no interest in either, which is not what somebody founding an imperial dynasty does. So using the title emperor for her wouldn't make any sense, but they've done it. I mean, you can make excuses for it, but I don't think that, given the other illusions that they're trying to leverage, I don't think it makes sense. The best argument in favor of it is that they have a character who is going by the name Seneca, and Seneca was an opponent of Claudius, who was an emperor. And they also use the title of dux for the generals. But the ducal title was used like 400 years after Caesar. Like, it was not in common use until like way, way down the line of the imperial dynasties having continued through like 20 emperors or something.
And it also just sounds really funny in modern English.
There is that.
I'm thinking of little white things in the pond quacking at me. I know what it means, but
there's only one time in the script where she actually refers to them as dukes. For some reason, like, I don't know why on this one occasion they decided to translate it like that. And everywhere else it's just used as the title dukes.
Somebody else was doing translation that day, probably.
These days, that title's only used in an academic setting, as far as I'm aware. For the highest academic achiever, usually at a high school level. I don't think they use it at university level. But yeah, and there's a whole bunch of other sort of minutiae in there. There were less spelling mistakes than usual. I will give them this one thing. There are less spelling mistakes than usual. Their editor has gotten better at editing. But that's about it. The translation is really shonky.
That's kind of the bare minimum, isn't it?
I simultaneously got a feeling of an inexperienced translator not knowing what the F they were doing and just writing fan fiction where they didn't know. And also being incredibly literal to a point where I didn't understand anything they were talking about unless I stopped to seriously think about where they were going when it came to Saridra.
Well, I feel like they went more in that direction. Like, if I were to take the Japanese as the watermark, I don't know how close the Japanese is on some of the finer detail to the Chinese. Maybe it diverges more than the impression that I've got, but like, they made a bunch of changes that seemed kind of odd. Like, for instance, Saridra talks about understanding the minds of men, and that, but that's not what she's saying in the Japanese. She's talking about understanding the hearts of men, which is a totally different thing and more appropriate to a charismatic leader. Because the way it's phrased in the English sounds like she's persuading them that she's right, but that's not what she's doing at all. She's motivating them through the thumos, like through their sort of spirit and will to conquer, is what she's trying to inspire. She doesn't care about whether they believe her or not, or whether they think the way she thinks or not. So the translation doesn't make any sense relative to her character.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the way she's been localized, and she's by far the worst example. Frankly, all of Heiselin's fish puns run a little bit too deep into figurative language territory for me to tell whether or not they're in any other language.
Your bubble tummy waifu is I get the feeling they were working with what they had with her, and they did. I managed to at least get the gist of what they were doing, even if it was all allegory and fish puns.
Well, I mean, the only thing that you really need to take home from her character, like, I mean, this to their advantage, is that she doesn't see herself as human. Fundamentally, she sees herself as a person, yes, but she doesn't really see herself as human, and this is something that both comforts and bothers her, depending on the context. Which I suppose makes sense when, after the fact, you go through her details, and she's actually supposed to be the representative of nihility in Amphorius. But yeah, her story is very in fact, both of the stories are very alien to common sense, and I feel like that's on purpose, because the others have all been sort of like they've been stories about relatively normal people in extraordinary situations of various sorts. Like they act in ways that are relatable. Neither Hysolins nor Saridja ever act in ways that are relatable because they're both very extreme people. In the case of Hysolins, she has a profound alienation from everything around her and doesn't belong or fit anywhere, and just sort of latches in a toxic way onto things that she hopes will give her some sense of deliverance, and none of which ever do.
I'm trying.
It's her entire track is just a tragedy. Saridja, on the other hand, is like I was sort of impressed in the sense that with Saridja they didn't shy away from just making her a monster. Like, she's a bad person, and she doesn't care. She's not a moustache twirler at all. She does nothing for its own sake. She does everything for the sake of conquest. And they didn't at any point try and soften that. She's totally unrepentant right till the very last minute. She has people that she cares about and people that she does things for because she cares about them. However, when it comes to the cost of conquest, she will do what's necessary. And basically, they don't try and jam an inappropriate redemption arc in for her. Like, she doesn't make some heroic sacrifice at the last second or anything like that. She dies as she lived, which I feel is like the perfect way to round out that character arc. But the problem with everything is that it all feels extremely rushed and disconnected. It's not very stably told as a contiguous story. And getting back to what I was saying about getting that sort of vibe off of it from the previews, is I got that vibe again, and the keystone of that feeling drops at the very close of this patch when you reflect and realize that none of the stuff in the trailer actually happened in the plot. Yeah. Which makes me think this whole segment of the game was completely re-edited in a big hurry.
Fern, I found a picture to help you.
Okay, I got bored and wandered off.
No, not for the puzzle. For Hysolins that we're talking about, because because her physical appearance is the big thing that stands out to me, and she had the better of the two stories at least. I know where they were trying to go with it, but Saridja just had such inconsistent presentation throughout the whole thing, and the localized text was so bad. I did not process at all what they wanted me to feel for this character, and totally disconnected from her. Hysolins, I managed to wrap my head around and go okay with. I didn't think her story was bad for what they gave us. It was weird.
Her story is weird, but it's also closer to human since it's about alienation.
Yeah.
Whereas understanding Saridja's story is sort of like it's of the same genus as trying to understand like Saber, the character of Saber. Because nobody is a king, so nobody really gets it.
Yeah,
and so nobody in universe understands Saber at all until you have like the three kings at their drinking party in Fate Zero.
Yeah,
and they are reflecting on their different impressions of what it means to be a king. But only the kings can do that for each other. Nobody can do that in isolation. And Saridja's kind of like that. Like, her story is something that, like, I think that what she does is she is sort of like, she fits with her portfolio. So her portfolio in the story is lore. And she fulfills that role for Amphorius because in every iteration of the cycle, she is the only one that does the same thing every single time. Everybody else changes with the changes in the story as the cycles repeat and things change and circumstances change, but the decisions that Saridja makes every time are the same because that's just who she is. and that's sort of her story is about her unbendingness, basically. That she is the only one in the end who never does anything different because her heart is already completely set on conquest and nothing else. So there's not, in some sense, there's not really a story to tell there because she winds up exactly where she started. But she's perfectly okay with this.
Yeah. But as for Bubble Tummies, I liked her story. I could follow that and go with it, and that was fairly well put together. Since I assume we're only
She's a freaking mess. Like her being a siren and therefore not human is probably the only thing psychologically keeping her together, because she's a mess.
But man, does her bubble tummy distract every time she's on camera.
There are a lot of memes about that, like other
Right.
characters using her as a fish tank
Like,
and using.
if she drinks a whole lot of like carbonated Sprite, do we increase the bubble count?
I don't know. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of porn mangas drawn of her.
Well, because internet, yes.
I wasn't quite going that far, but I don't doubt it.
But yeah, for the sake of explanation to Fern, she's basically a sea nymph. She's a siren. She's a daughter of the Titan of Ocean.
Okay, that gives a bit more explanation, at least to the bubble tummy.
But yeah, so the story, like, there's definitely story in there, but I feel like it was chopped and changed a lot in production because it doesn't feel very well ordered. Like, I reflected on it afterwards, after I finished, because I managed to finish the story by 2 a.m, so I still had enough consciousness enough left to reflect on what had happened and how it happened. And I can still draw the thread from start to finish through the plot. However, occasionally it will just do odd things, and they will tell odd stories for odd reasons. They just sort of seem to. And now for something completely different.
Also, Fern, I play Star Rail's main story in English, or not in English, sorry, in Japanese. I don't play it in English, for many reasons. Most of them named Buttervision, or Buttervision adjacent things. However, when you're going through this story, Bubble Tummy is going to, of the clips I've seen, have a oh boy terrible accent because she is a UK actress that has a very strong UK accent, and they forced her to do an American accent.
Oh, that never ends well.
It does not.
Why?
It sounds.
Did they force her to, or did she think that she was supposed to? Because you do find a lot of that these days.
I have no idea.
Like, especially voice actors which don't have a huge portfolio, they feel like they're going to get passed over if people can tell that they've got a UK accent.
Are they just
It does
trying
happen.
to avoid the evil Brit trope?
I don't know.
Well, the thing is that Aglaya, it has a US voice actress who is trying desperately to ape a British accent, an upper class British accent, and is failing horribly.
I just kind of parse Aglaya as having her own accent because it's so odd.
Bad.
Whenever
I thought that if they're going to use an American, surely they could have gone for like Mid-Atlantic or something that received pronunciation.
Yeah,
That would have made a bit more sense considering where they are.
they should have just given her a Cajun
Especially
accent.
Considering that Aglaya is like a noble born and raised, her having received pronunciation would have made sense.
Yeah, but no, we get fake Brit for Aglaya and fake American for Hisselins. And oh boy,
Swap the actors. Problem solved.
Oh boy, does Bubble Tummy sound bad.
Make her French or something.
Oh, I want to see Aglaya with a Cajun accent. That would have been great.
Then you'd never understand her.
Oh
no.
Anyway, yeah. So the most distracting thing for me was not Hisselin's tummy. I guess I got used to that after a while of using her in combat. But it was Cyrene is very small.
Yeah,
like very small. Because it doesn't. It's probably largely because compared to other protagonists, Stell is very tall. like Hoyo tends to make short girls protagonists.
Mm.
Stella is not. Stella's like taller than most of the cast. She's just kind of a beanpole female lead compared to most. And Cyrene is very small, and she is your sidekick through much of the story. But the camera can't get them both in the shot because Cyrene is very small. And it's just, there's a lot of scenes that are just kind of quite funny because Hisselins is Saridra's closest lackey, and Hisselins is reasonably tall. She's moderately tall, and Saridra is not. Likewise, you're playing as Stell, and Stell is very tall, and Cyrene is not. And so you've got these two really tall characters having a conversation with their respective partners, and you can't fit everybody in the same shot because you've got two people who are very, very small, and you've got two people who are quite tall. And it's just, I find it distracting how when you're having a serious conversation, and then it's like the camera has to then pan down so that we can see Cyrene because she's got something to say.
I found a picture. When they are on even ground, Cyrene comes up to Stell's shoulder. Barely. Maybe not quite, even if they're both standing straight.
Which I think is an interesting design decision. I've seen a lot of criticism of Cyrene's design due to various leaks and stuff in the trailer, and that have been too much like Elysia. But Elysia is quite tall. I don't think Elysia's as tall as some of the other characters who are thought of as tall in the Honkai cast, but she is of like reasonable height. Like she's sort of the same height as various others like Eden and Raiden and so on. But Cyrene is not. Cyrene is very small. She is. Her influence on the story, it all happens off screen, so it's sort of hard to tell what she's been up to. I did not expect the plot to, like, I was sort of expecting, okay, so we've passed the halfway point, and the sort of the presentation of the cycle of Amphorius that we receive in 3.4 is sort of like, I want to complain about this before I forget. Everything since about 3.3 to 3.4, the translation of Omphalos into Amphorius by English exclusively has just annoyed me more and more, because once you find out about what Amphorius is all about, the name Omphalos makes perfect sense, and Amphorius ceases to make even a trivial amount of sense.
You mean it's got nothing to do with fancy jugs?
Has nothing to do with fancy jugs.
I am disappointed.
I mean, there are a lot of fancy jugs all over the place, but no.
Well, yeah, but it's like a Greco-Roman setting. There have to be fancy jugs.
They have to be, yeah. Preferably full of
But,
olive oil.
or wine.
Or wine.
But yeah, it would have, the whole thing would have made perfect thematic sense, and it would have been a real, penny drop moment if they had actually kept it called Omphalos instead of changing it for no reason. So yeah, that really annoys me, and it continues to annoy me. Anyway, I thought that after we get to the end of the presentation of the Cycle of Amphorius in 3.4, I thought that we would get off to a reasonably slow start again, because they start you off in Ides Elysiae, and everything is sort of idyllic and peaceful, etc., etc. So I did not actually expect everything to go completely to hell in a handbasket at the speed that it did.
Yeah, it took.
I certainly did not expect to be shuffled off stage while it happened.
Yeah, it took less than an hour and a half for them to throw the shit firmly back in the fan.
Yeah, like I thought that, okay, so we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to see the journey from a different point of view, see the aspects of characters we didn't see before. I thought that was how it was going to go. No, everything just goes bad real fast.
Yeah, this is
because somebody has been nettled by the turn of events in the previous chapter.
Yeah. I kind of.
So I would like to award the Theoros the prize for man in the cosmos who most loves the sound of his own voice.
He's pretty good in the Japanese. And that's how I heard him first. When I went to go
I
check the
don't know what he
English,
sound, I don't know what he sounds like in English at all.
if his level of acting was what we had for the entirety of Star Rail, I would listen to this game in English. If I knew,
So he's actually a really good performer.
oh yeah, I don't know who the performer is off the top of my head, but he killed it in the
Well,
clips I saw.
It's a good thing he's good then, because he will not shut up.
No, he loves to talk, but man, he kills it. He does not make up for Buttervision or any of Buttervision related characters, Bubble Tummy, etc. But if you do listen in English, Fern, you got something to look forward to. I'm tempted to go
Yeah.
back and watch his scenes in English just to hear all of his dialogue, but the bits I heard were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's sort of a character who, as a player, you do feel something towards him. Usually rage because he won't shut up, but but at any rate, yeah, he's clearly nettled by the goings on, and he wants to exert his influence or whatever, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I did not expect that I would just get shunted into the naughty corner while everybody else got to have fun, and then come out only after everything was over to get told, yeah, you kind of you should have been here because that kind of sucked. Yeah, it was an odd decision to make, but I can sort of see why they did it, because if we had to actually foot slog it across M4S again, it probably would have gotten old real fast. But yeah, it was an interesting way of doing it, but I think that it did a good job of sort of presenting the. In some sense, when you visit M4S in 3.0, it's kind of idyllic in some weird ways. Like, sure, it's a post-apocalyptic world, everything has gone wrong, but it's still kind of nice. And you go down to the baths and you chill and that sort of thing. And it's like, it's sort of hard to tell that anything is wrong, which is sort of the whole point of Anaxagoras' arc, I guess, is trying to convince people actually there is a good reason to fight. But because everything is kind of nice from the point of view of a normal person. But what this patch really does is just show the overall wretchedness of the world, and that no, everything is actually complete shite behind the veneer, and it's going to keep being shite every single time anything happens, because that's just the way this place was built to be shite, and you can't fix it. You've got to overturn it. So yeah, having everything fall apart yet again, I guess it does sort of like convey that in all times and places everything will go wrong, and there's basically there are parties with a vested interest in ensuring that this is the case. I mean, this is the par for the course for a heroic epic, is that you need a conflict, and there needs to be a lot of things that go wrong along the way. But this whole thing is a communication of it. My biggest problem with the story, though, is that it feels like it's been sliced and diced. Like, I didn't have any feeling of resolution when it was over.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, but what's going to happen next? This isn't a cliffhanger, nor is it a resolution. It just kind of stops, which makes me think that, yes, it was sliced and diced in production.
Yeah, I got
Judging by the fact there are heaps of like characters and scenes and events in the trailer that don't appear at all in the entire campaign, makes me think that originally this looked different.
Yeah, I got. It was very much so a case of the JoJo's meme. The to be continued. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Speaking of JoJo, I did not expect to burst out laughing in the boss fight.
Oh yeah, our boy.
He is totally a stand.
Yeah,
He is totally a stand.
our boy is channeling the Pillarmen something hard, doing all their poses.
Yeah,
Yes.
like this is. I started laughing like it's supposed to be a climactic moment, but the enemy is a JoJo character.
Like if you watch part 2,
And I should have seen it. I should have seen it coming, because they actually did the "Oh, you're approaching me" meme near the start of the campaign.
Yeah,
I can't remember who was doing it, but somebody actually did the thing really early on in the patch story.
Yeah, but yeah, just he's like floating in the air with arms crossed and his legs slept over themselves, and like the most JoJo thing you could possibly imagine.
Even like the graphic design had the sort of the exaggerated features of a JoJo character,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's like it's in stark contrast to what you've seen of him previously, which doesn't give that impression at all. And then you see him go JoJo.
Look, he's been stuck
Yeah,
in
full JoJo.
he's been stuck in the TV world for millions of millennia, and all that's on them TVs, if they're not tuned into the real world, is just reruns of JoJo.
Has to be. How else could you end up so inspired? But yeah, that boss was too easy.
Yeah,
Hilariously so. Especially considering how much I got mopped the floor by Aquila. I was a bit disappointed by that, but I give it like 10-1 odds. He's going to be in the next Memory of Chaos and is going to clean my clock there.
With style.
with fabulousness, that's definitely something he's got in spades.
Yeah, I did not expect him to be this fabulous. Like, fabulosity was not something that occurred to me originally. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, so I saw a lot of people giving it 2 out of 10 type thing online. Like, they hated it. I didn't hate it. There are some very obvious problems with it, but I feel like there is a better version that would have been made on a better production cycle.
Yeah,
It is basically, if you hated M4S so far, you're going to hate this one even more. But if you were lukewarm or didn't mind or liked M4S so far, you're going to not mind or be lukewarm or like this.
it's very broken into parts for which things I like about it. I liked Hislin's story well enough, like 6 or 7 out of 10. I liked all of Lagos's moments on screen. Those were like 7 out of 10, 7 or 8 maybe.
Even if I want to punt him off a cliffside.
Yeah, but he's just too hammy. You can win a lot of free points just by
He's having way too much fun, and I'm upset by this.
like you can win a lot of bonus points with me just by chewing on the scenery. If there
Oh,
were
yeah.
He doesn't know how to do anything else. Like him, he's every time he opens his mouth, it's like you're really enjoying this way too much. You love the sound of your own voice.
he's just sitting on the stage monologuing, and you turn to face him, and he's just got the curtain hanging firmly out of one side of his mouth. Like that is how scenery chewy we are here. He's eaten all the scenery and is now onto the curtain. So that was all good. I didn't care for Saridra or any of her story at all because mostly because the tone was so inconsistent, and I could not place what they wanted me to think or process about this character, and they didn't attach me to her enough for me to go out of my way to think about it afterwards.
I honestly think that this is actually a product of you being an American, because Americans don't have any history. Like, you think you've got history, you really don't. You've been around for 200 years, and there is a sort of a depth of sort of like centuries upon centuries of bloodshed that we who are part of the old world, like us Commonwealth countries, are still part of the Commonwealth. Like, we understand on a fundamental level that, like, what an American would say pithily about watering the tree of freedom with blood is like that's sort of something sort of silly and trivial to somebody who's connected to the era of empire still, in that everything that exists for people in old countries exists because of a colossal amount of cruelty and bloodshed, and that just goes all the way down, and that's what Saruja represents. She represents that sort of like the manic imperialism and conquest that underpins everything else that is actually worth saving.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Um, I think most of it has to do with tone and presentation. I think very little of it has to do with history. Because
I don't think you've got anything. I don't think you've got any index for it at all. Like the presentation is bad. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
but
But I don't think that there's anything there for you
but
because it's not part of your history.
the big thing that made me much more okay with Hisselin's, putting aside the part where she's actually there at the finale, was as poorly implemented as it was, they still tried to convey it through the actual video game and have you run around and see the flashbacks. And I if I'm going to experience the story through the medium of video games, I really want them to try and leverage that. And even if they don't do it very well, and I don't think they did it very well with Hisselin's, it still was something. So, and it never mind that it was all human models talking about being fish. Like, it's got problems, but it was still an attempt.
Very surprised to find myself happy to see Bartolos.
Oh, like, yeah, you definitely weren't a fish here. Oh no, he was at the banquet after they got to the surface. Or yeah, that's right.
He was pretending to be a grape.
Yeah. You'll figure that out later. But
like I hated this guy in 3.0, but I was actually kind of missing him at this point.
Yeah, I still hate him every time I'm exploring an area and he steals a treasure chest. It still feels like a colossal waste of time. But
what a butthole.
I did like, speaking of the gameplay though, I did like the little evolutions to the goat puzzles. I like the little portals they added. I thought those were fun.
I was like, I tried to do a couple of those. I did get them in the end, but I was very drunk. It was not easy.
I was,
because I would have to do it multiple times just to remember how I had moved because I had had too much to drink by that point. Like
yeah.
by the time we reached the banquet where everybody was drinking, I was already pretty deep in my cups.
Yeah. But so far, Sarija just really holds it back with the tone and her story being conveyed almost entirely through still images and just telling you what happened. And
I think that the biggest problem with it is that you get the start of Hycelin's story, then you get the start of Surija's story, then you get the entirety of Hycelin's story, and then you get the end of Surija's story.
Yeah.
So you get basically a massive interlude to forget everything that was going on and break up any sense of continuity.
Yeah. So she's got a whole lot of stuff going against the way she's presented in the story there, but so there are good bits.
I think that she is one of. I think that she, like in terms of like the payload of the character, Sarija has some of the heaviest payload of any character that has been deployed so far, but the worst actual deployment of it.
Yeah. So
I think, and honestly, I think that if you take like 10 steps back, the whole problem is that this plot so far has tried to do too much in too compressed a space of time. Like, they have made too many characters. This feels like 1,000-Year Blood War. They've introduced so many characters, and they've got to march them all on stage and then off stage again in a compressed timescale.
Yeah, and remember, it took 2 whole patches for Aglaya and Tribi. And Mighty, I guess. Like, it took 2 full whole patches for them to establish and really run with their character arcs, and they continued for a bit after that. Sarija and Hycelin's get this patch. And that's it. Hyacine at least had the events to help ingratiate us to her before her big patch, and her boss fight is still the peakest moment in Amphorius. It's not even close. So yeah, they're just playing with the deck stacked against them already, with just in terms of time, and I guess they had to pick one, and somebody liked Bubble Tummy better, so it got more screen time.
Well, the biggest problem at the sort of the fundamental planning stage is that they decided that they needed to do the Flame Chase journey, and the Flame Chase journey is a canonical Honkai story that requires 13 players. You can't have less than that. Otherwise, it ceases to have the echoes that they needed in order to tie the two together. It needs to have 13 players. And they don't have time to do 13 characters. Like, the flame chase, as it is revealed little by little throughout Honkai Impact, happens over a very long time. Like, you start getting it in bits and pieces way back at the start of the game, and then they gradually intensify, and then they branch it out into its entire another game mode. Like, the whole thing that we think of as say simulated universe / divergent universe, like the flame chase, like the characters involved in the flame chase, their stories are all told through that over a really long period of time in Honkai Impact 3rd, and then they all get tied together in like one big long patch cycle. So the planning is just better in the way it was deployed in Honkai Impact compared to trying to tell it as an orthodox end-to-end story in Honkai Star Rail has just compressed the time scale too much.
Yeah.
And like you could in every case with Amphorius patches, it was like I can see what they're trying to do. I might even like what they're trying to do, but they didn't quite do it right. They've rushed it here, they've chopped something out there, they've put these two things together which don't quite fit together. It's always about the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's probably at this point it's probably going to be like this all the way to the end. It's going to be messy. It's going to be untidy. The story will be there, but you're going to have to work to get at it because it's going to be, hidden in amongst a bunch of other stories which you're also interested in, but are also being told in a mishmash fashion. So yeah, all of the content is there. It's just the organization is really untidy and it doesn't flow well as a result. I feel like the whole thing, it's like the sort of thing that, somebody after the fact is going to spend like 80 hours of their life recutting this into a movie that actually makes sense.
Yeah. I also feel like because of the way they're telling this story, it wouldn't solve many of the issues, but it would make it feel a lot better if you were just to tell it as one giant epic movie instead of breaking it up into pieces. Because we get
Well, this is what I'm saying. Somebody's going to make that.
Yeah.
Some fan is going to make that after it's all said and done, because it's just disorganized and it needs somebody to organize it from like an end point of view where they're not trying to keep anything concealed, and they understand the vectors that are being followed and the themes that are trying to be conveyed. And I think that you can assemble that movie and it would be more coherent. They just don't appear to have a very good plan, to be quite honest. They know what they want to do and the writing is there, but it's really disorganized. But the thing that makes me think that this is a production incident rather than like a fundamental conceptualization failure is the fact that the trailer contains so much content that didn't make it into the patch. In fact, the trailer is mostly content that didn't make it into the patch.
Yeah, I did not watch the trailer at all, so I have no idea what did or didn't make it. Or if I did, I forgot it already.
The trailer seems to be mostly about things that haven't even appeared on screen yet or have spent very little time on screen. So yeah, it was very, very strange getting to the end of this patch, having watched the trailer a few times actually, get to the end of the patch and you haven't seen any of it. It's like, what? Did I miss something? Because this is definitely not side quest content. But yeah, it was very odd. A very odd scenario. I don't really know what's going on there. But yeah, I rounded out feeling quite unsatisfied because like you sort of like you as Trailblazer sort of just disappear at the end, and they don't say anything about where you've gone, and they leave open the question of whether Isolance is even with you. it seems like Saridra sort of implying that she could go if she wanted.
Yeah, but
Since Hysolins is so comically self-destructive as a person, maybe she just won't.
Yeah, who knows what Bubble Tummy's doing?
The Evernight and your boy Butterface are like, well, where are they and what are they doing? Why are they suddenly here? Like, what? A lot of that stuff doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, I mean, where's the baddie right now? Are they still having a conference in the TV world? Is this just they're just gonna drag this conference out until they all die of boredom? Because it sounds like that's exactly what their plan is.
Yeah, and while another thing that rubbed me about the ending, while it made for a cool visual, uh, the idea of flooding it with information with the papers from the book, it took it. It felt weird. Like,
I thought that it was just allegorical. Like I didn't think it was actually something that was happening per se, but maybe it was.
yeah,
The line between allegory and reality is very, very thin, especially since your boy Lycurgus has just spent the last hour talking about allegories.
yeah,
So I'm not really sure what's an allegory and what's not at this point. But
yeah.
yeah, there was one little bonus thing in there for people who played Honkai Third, is that when Cyrene appears to save your bacon in that sort of climactic scene, they just play like a couple of bars of her theme from Honkai Third, just barely enough that you can tell that that's what the theme is, which is very different to the motifs that is used throughout the rest of Amphoria, so you can pick up on it. And it's like that's from like a ultra important climactic scene from Honkai Impact Third. It was like, for somebody who's played through that, it's like somebody just reached out and grabbed your heart and yanked. It's such an important musical motif in a very, very critical and very emotional scene in that game.
Vern is in a very awkward spot for me to bounce on his head.
Quite so.
But yeah, overall, it was a patch that I didn't think was significantly better or worse than the previous one. It was just kind of, it is what it is. It's more connective tissue for the story, and you're going to always end up with these types of patches when you actually go out of your way to write a story that's really long for the sake of making it long, like they did. It is a story that has way too many irons in the fire, and is probably going to go down the route of culling the irons in the fire simply by killing them off when there gets to be too many, type of thing, the way Tite Kubo does. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see where it goes from there. This one clocks in at about 3/4 the length of your typical M4S patch in terms of the amount of speaking. But so it is a bit shorter than before. But fundamentally, this does not really do any. I don't feel this does any real great harm to the game, and nor does it benefit it in any great way, because you couldn't introduce somebody to the game with this patch. It's like this is all connective tissue and no meat. It's all necessary to know, and it builds on what you know about these characters, what you feel about these characters, the way the cosmos is operating, the stakes, and the mechanisms by which the various agents in contention are attempting to bring about their own particular agendas. But there was not really a hype moment per se.
I mean, there was JoJo's moment.
There was definitely a JoJo moment, and it was kind of hype, but in a comical way.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not your boy, fattest pony, making the rainbow.
Well, I mean, that's a different tier, right? All you've got to do is look at who gets chosen for whatchamacallit, who gets implemented as a boss fight and who ends up being Hule.
Yeah, it's just I like Fattest Pony.
That fight's not intended to be a tent pole, but Aquila was. Like Aquila is sort of like the it serves as kind of like an emblem of the pinnacle of what it means to be a flame chaser in the originally intended conception of it before everything starts to disintegrate. Like, you are doing the thing, you are going on the crusade against the evil titan who is keeping humanity down. Like the ultra simplified version of events that everybody believed during the start of the story. Like, that's sort of like the apotheosis of that. So it makes sense for that to be the biggest hype moment. But at the point where we are now in the story, everything is up for grabs and nothing makes sense. There are so many sort of conflicting approaches and agendas that have now been thrown into the pot that it's sort of hard to tell what's going on. Like, we even have like the Garden of Recollection is prowling around the edges now. They keep sending their March army for whatever reason. Like, why do they have an army of marchers? Why do they feel the need to do this?
I don't
But
know.
those I actually kind of like that because you spend a lot of time with Black Swan, who's a little bit ambiguous in various ways, but mostly is on your side, right? Mostly she's nice to you and helps you. And to throw into the mix the fact that, oh, well, actually, just because this one person you know who happens to be a memo keeper is nice, doesn't mean that the Garden of Recollection are your friends. They have their own things that they're interested in.
Like making you fight Hule.
Over and over and over again. But yeah, I think that's a valuable thing. I think it would have been funny if the Trailblazer just decided to summon the Annihilation Gang to Amphorius. But it didn't happen. There's a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense right now, and honestly, it's becoming a great deal of difficult. It's becoming quite difficult to keep a track of the sheer number of timelines and the things which happened in each of them at this point, because the time stream in Amphorius is now a total hot mess.
Oh yeah, and then we got all the fun. We talked about it briefly earlier. All the fun time dilation going on, just to throw another monkey wrench in the story's presentation and perception.
Yeah, so like you know you've got the sort of peace talks conference going on in the background of everything else, but it's happening on a different temporal scale to everything else, and they're just trying to bore each other to death in order to decide who's going to be the victor.
Yeah, that's oh dear. I don't know. Maybe Lygus can keep Herda and Skrillum entertained enough.
Um, but yeah, it's probably at its messiest right now. I thought that like, oh, we were going to get a nice start over on a clean slate when basically at the end of 3.4 we wiped the slate clean in some respects, right? All of the mess of what has gone before has been cleared away, and then it's like, oh, actually, no, this wasn't such a great idea. We thought we were cleaning everything up, but we just ticked off the person who has the power to make this messier than anybody else, and then proceeded to do so. But yeah, so it's a messy story. The big problem with Star Rail as a business proposition though is not the story. Like, the story has its ups and downs. Every story does. Like, there are lots of people bagging really hard on Star Rail right now because they just don't happen to like something or other about the story. Well, I mean, the story is, to some extent, I feel like people have forgotten that stories are actually a matter of taste. There can be things that are objectively well done or poorly done in a story if you happen to know the authorial intent. However, stories are still fundamentally a matter of taste. that were not the case, then 50 Shades of Grey would not have sold so well. And just because there are a lot of people who think 50 Shades of Grey is good, doesn't necessarily make it high literature. But for those people, it doesn't really need to be.
I don't know if good plays a factor in that. I think that is
Doesn't
that-
satisfy the thirst.
Yeah.
That is satisfy Lady Gooners.
Yeah,
But,
that's
Nobody thinks that 50 Shades is good. It just scratches an itch.
well, the thing is that there's a lot of people who persuade themselves that means that it's good. Right?
I suppose they did
Because-
for Twilight.
Yeah. I mean,
Ugh.
ultimately there are a lot of people bagging on it, but I think a lot of those people don't remember like the bad old days. Like some of the people who are bagging on the storytelling in Star Rail probably thought the storytelling in early World of Warcraft was good. It's like, no, there basically wasn't any.
It was pretty placeholder,
Peop-
yeah.
People made up their own stories.
I'd say it was
Like in all of vanilla, the only story that anybody really remembers is the one in EPL, where there was like proper environmental storytelling.
in early WoW. It's very, you can tell its roots of like the people that made this game played like CRPGs and liked them. Like most of your enjoyment from the story in that is going to come from your interpretation of the universe. It's has very little to do with what the game actually presents, because there just ain't that much there.
But the thing is that to this day, there are still people who are discussing the various merits of the incredible World of Warcraft storytelling with its disabled black female paladin girl boss main character, etc., who does the dumbest thing in every available situation and gets the credit for everything that goes well, etc. Like the storytelling in video games generally is extraordinarily trash. Like there are a handful of highlights that exist, and then there's a lot of people who are glazing stuff that is quite bad. So Star Rail having some mediocre story beats is like, well, I mean, that's just the mean, really. They should be better. They should do better. They've got people giving them money, so do better. That's fine. I'm happy to adopt that perspective. But unfortunately, it's one of those games where it has a community with a capital C who will throw up a haze of bullshit, useless feedback for the developers.
But they're all
Which is the
skipping
biggest problem with any popular product. Well, they're all skipping it, but the problem with story skippers is that they still have very strong opinions about the story that they didn't bother to witness. And in some sort of perverse way, they feel that their opinion is actually more valid because they skipped it.
This makes zero sense.
Oh, no, there's two prongs to this quote sense, unquote. The prong one is that because I skipped it because it was bad, therefore you need to make it good enough that either I won't skip it despite the fact that I won't know if it's good or not because I'm skipping it from the outset, or it's got to be good enough that I can pick up the entire story while skipping it. And the other prong of it is basically that that the part of the story that is worth picking up would be picked up by a skipper anyway. Therefore, I know that the story is bad based on what I have picked up by skipping the entire story.
How are you supposed to pick it up without actually consuming the story without a horrific amount of redundancy?
Well, the problem again is the community, because they spend a lot of time in these echo chambers with the community with a capital C, who then basically create this sort of like weird pseudo canon out of the things that they believe, which is why there are so many people going around like matter-of-factly telling other people, oh, this character is canonically gay, this character is canonically trans, and that, because the community has told them so and they skipped the story.
Yes, they don't know anything.
But they think that they do know everything. Like, most of the people in this category don't even go so far as to watch like a 10-minute summary on YouTube or something. They just go and join one of the endless fulminating conversations about the relative sexualities of all the characters in the cast online. And there are so many of these, it's disturbing. Like, other than who am I going to pull next, it's probably the most talked about topic in the capital C community.
Oh, we can solve this for him. That works too.
I can Natlan it, is how I do it.
Why is the Statue of the Seven viciously flashing at me?
Good question. I have no idea.
This is like the Men in Black flashy thing. It stopped now.
Flashy thing.
But yeah, so the core problem with Star Rail's patch is going to be content, because it always is. They need to give us stuff to do. I haven't done the restaurant thing yet, but it's not going to last an entire patch cycle. Don't be ridiculous. I don't really expect it to either. I don't want enough content to last the entire patch cycle. That would be too much to ask. To have, 40 days worth of solid playing content. That's kind of ridiculous. But they do need to offer more than they have been, and I don't know if they are just like don't think that they need to, or if that's like, well, all of the low key events, they're so low key that we might as well just elide them entirely because they don't really amount to much. Like, I think that you need to have 2 to 3 large scale events per patch, and they have 1 at best. Now, they are bringing out a new game mode in the next patch, which is currently under development. But from what I can tell, it's basically going to be Stygian Onslaught, and therefore it's basically going to be totally inaccessible to the majority of players. The numbers that I've seen coming out of beta suggest that the final boss of this mode is going to be ridiculously hard, and there's like a hard cap of 2 cycles to clear to get the rewards.
Yeah, don't even know if I want to attempt that.
Nah, it doesn't sound like any fun.
From what I've seen, the health pools of the bosses, the final boss, I should say, is sort of like somewhere between 10 and 20 times as high as your standard MOC boss.
That's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt this.
Like, you actually have to be at doing break the game levels of damage, which, like, you need to be at the point where all of the game modes in the game are totally trivial to 0 cycle before you can even attempt this. And this seems like a game mode with an audience of, like, almost none. Now, the reason why this is still actually a reasonable business proposition is that the people who can do this are streamers. So they actually do draw people into the game as a marketing exercise. And if you can generate content for your content creators, then you actually are basically doing marketing at the same time. So it's, from a very cynical perspective, this is actually a worthwhile thing for them to be spending their time on. But the question is going to be whether you tick off enough players at their perceived lack of ability to participate that it offsets this. So what's going to matter really is basically what is the spend level of a stream watcher who plays the game. To the extent that there are stream watchers that play the game. And there probably are. Because, I mean, they're going to see their streamer, right, they do X amount of damage on this fight or whatever, and they have this amount of success on this fight or whatever, using these characters, and you as a streamer junkie have watched this, and then you suddenly want those characters to try and do that thing, and how are you going to do this? Well, I'm going to need to E6 this character, right? Because the streamer has.
Yep.
And so that converts, right? So this is... You don't actually need too many of those to justify it, because E6ing a character is not cheap.
If you can snag a couple more whales with it, then yeah, you've done what you need to.
Because once people are in the habit, once people get in the habit, then you're done, right? You've got your lifer, you've got your person who's going to pour money into the game forever. So yeah, from a really cynical perspective, this makes sense. From an actual providing content that will keep an engaged and lively community over a period of time, this is, reckless at best and counterproductive at worst. Because it's going to be largely content that people don't get a look into. Now, there's still plenty of time for them to tune it. We're not even properly into CBT1 yet for that game mode. It does exist, but it's not been revised or scrutinized at all yet. It's still sitting in its prototype phase. But yeah, and it does have lots of things that make it even harder. Like, just me telling you how many hit points it's got does not get close to telling you how difficult it is. Like, they've got affixes like, for every 1% health lost, your crit damage decreases by 3%. Or something like
What?
that.
Oh,
So as the boss gets lower on health, you lose ability to spike it down. The battle gets drawn out, the lower on health it gets. Using crit
that
builds.
sounds just incredibly obnoxious.
Yeah, so you're basically going to be obliged to use like break or dot on that, unless they also have an affix that breaks those two, which it could.
Which they probably will.
But yeah, so now this is supposed to be for high end players. Like, you don't even have access to this game mode unless you have max starred every other game mode at least once in the past. So you have to at least have played it at the top level of content before you can access this. But there will be rewards for it to a point. And in the design doc phase, they said that there would be no Stellar Jade for the final boss.
You don't need it at
It's
that point.
But I mean, the same sort of thing applied to Stygian Onslaught, right? The easy parts, you can get all the primogens from the easy parts. But the feathers are extremely valuable to a developing account and not that valuable to a high-end account. And basically, you can only get those feathers from doing the high-end content. So it's basically the rich will get richer and the poor will stay poor. So yeah, from a design perspective, not great. So yeah, but like I said, the whole thing is in the early prototyping phase. From the design doc level though, they weren't intending to make a game mode for everybody. They were intending to make sort of like pinnacle content for people to compete for the fastest clear time on. So from the word go, casuals like me and you are not going to be interested. We might poke at it just to see where the power level is at, but we're not going to seriously compete because it's not designed for us. It's going to be designed for people who actually they don't play all the Hoyo games, they just play Star Rail and they spend their free time spreadsheeting out their speed tuning. Like, that's what this is for. This is for people who fine-tuned their summoner gameplay before the class revamp in FF14.
Yeah,
But, I mean, have you seen that spreadsheet? Crazy.
I am aware of its existence. I played it before the revamp briefly, and it took quite a while to get a handle on like the 80% that you can get by just practice without spreadsheeting it. And I saw that it was broken up per boss pretty dramatically.
Fury's birthday today. Anyway, yeah, so that's what that's for. Other stuff that's coming down the pipeline. So with the launch of 3.5, 3.6 is moving into CBT now. So we're getting our first sort of reports at what Evernight and Permanent Terrae are like. So the positioning for Evernight at present seems to be Fugue, basically. The character whose role in society is going to be to allow Trailblazer to be freed up from her most important team comp, which at present her most important team comp is Casterus, and there's not really any replacement. So Evernight is basically a variant on, like, so you'll be familiar by now with characters like Sitlali and Skirk and Escoffier, where they've got, if you meet the group requirements by 50% or 75% or what, you get like some buffs, but all of the buffs come out when you match it perfectly, right?
Mhm.
Like, there's a big gap. This phenomenon is pretty well established in Genshin now. They're doing something a little bit different in Everknight's kit, which is that the big gap is in the middle rather than at the end. So the idea being that this will be probably based around having memo sprites on the field, and or remembrance characters, I would say, probably, because you don't want to design yourself into a corner where every memo sprite has a field presence. So it'll probably be for pure remembrance teams. And so what they've got it set up is basically so that you can run Everknight alongside 2 remembrance characters or 3 remembrance characters. Now, you'll get more buffs for 3 remembrance characters, but if you think about this in a fugue context where you sort of know, in some sense, what the composition of the group is going to be like, if you are to put a support remembrance, like Everknight appears to be a support remembrance, into the Castris team, it's going to either go into the Tribby slot or into the Trailblazer slot. So if you want to replace Trailblazer, then you're basically slotting it into a 3 remembrance 1 harmony team, because Tribby is part of the premium team, which means you need most of the buffs to work. But since Tribby is the premier buffer and Trailblazer is the secondary buffer with action advance, you don't need as big a buffs to balance the team out. So having the 3 out of 4 give good buffs but not the best buffs actually fits for that. But if you're going to use her to replace Tribby, then you need her to be performing like Tribby if you want to run the full Memo Sprite team.
There's also the not in them doing that with this, and that there is no 4-star character aside, unless you count Trailblazer.
Yeah, for some reason, despite the fact that that character exists, like in the code for prototype versions of the game, like your boy Mr. Wreck is there as the 4-star remembrance. They've just never released him. He hasn't undergone existence failure. They just haven't put him in the game for some reason. But yeah. So yeah, that's sort of like the role that they are trying to play there, is that you can run 3 remembrance 1 harmony, or you can run 4 remembrance using Everknight, and you're not going to get really aggressively pigeonholed into one mode or the other. But her purpose does seem to be those teams that go really deep on memo sprites on field are going to be focused on using her to replace the slot that would be used by Trailblazer when Trailblazer goes off to become Elation Path in the next arc, which is the current leaked assumption. I don't know what Elation Path is going to entail.
It's going to involve a lot of trash cans.
It probably will. The other Permanenza Terrae's kit is interesting. It seems to be kind of like March 7th Hunt, if March 7th Hunt was a preservation character. So currently Permanenza Terrae is a attack scaling preservation character who has a group shield like Aventurine, though it's not, his kit's not built around the shield, like the shield and doing shield things. His kit is actually built around a more March 7th Hunt type thing, where he basically pairs up with another character, and he pegs all of his memo sprites, because he's got a memo sprite like thing. It's not actually a memo sprite, or he'd be a remembrance character, but he's got like a summon. That summon's abilities get pegged to the person that he is paired with. And when that person acts, then it affects the summon, and when the summon acts, it affects that person. So he's a sort of a hybrid shielder buffer. So basically Caesar, I guess, from ZZZ. But these are he's likely to undergo a lot of changes as CBT rolls on, because people have figured out all kinds of like comically broken crap that you can make his kit do as it currently stands, like get infinite turns and that sort of thing. And he's just a little bit too good right now based on the leaked kit. Like, there's pretty much no team comp you can't jam him into. I think somebody cooked up like an infinite turns Facial build with him, so he can go and follow up. Apparently, somebody worked out that you could actually make him cooperate with Heselin's Kafka team. You can make him cooperate with an Acheron team. You can make him like a substitute break team buffer. You can actually put Lingsha out of the break team, replace it with Permansatere, and then he will, and then while interacting with Fugue to make him affect the breaking thing, and then giving him lots of turns, you can accomplish all sorts of corrosive crap. Like, I don't think they're actually going to want to release a preservation character who is the preservation character for every single team. The closest that they currently have for that are Hyacine and Aventurine, because Aventurine sort of works in every team but strongly favors follow-up, and Hyacine sort of works in every team but strongly favors Memo Sprite-based teams.
I don't know.
Or HP scaling teams.
She may give bonuses, but Fattest Pony is still Fattest Pony. Why are Melusines so adorable?
Very, very fat. But yeah, so I think that his kit's probably going to get revamped quite a bit. But yeah, there are still persistent rumors that Permansatere is going to be the other free 5-star that we get this year. So that's still on the cards. If he's going to be free, they probably won't make him game breaking.
I don't know. Maybe they just want to make sure everybody's got an Aventurine, so they never have to calculate damage taken again, and we're perma-locked into the only type of in-game mode being how many cycles you can do it in.
That would be really dumb, but I mean, they've done dumb things in the past, and you know, getting to where we currently are with preservation is sort of one of those dumb things. It's hard not to notice that path has basically been left untouched for the longest time.
Because they kind of peaked it with Aventurine. You got to power creep quite a bit to make that not relevant.
Yeah, they broke it. They broke durability as an archetype by making shielding too efficient. Like, I think that it's basically their design team must not have played World of Warcraft type of thing. Like, they did not have built into their design logic that EHP is more important than health restoration, fundamentally. So if you make it bigger, then it's not going to work. It's going to break the archetype.
The only way they've been able to keep up with it with abundance characters continues to make damage irrelevant, because they heal off turn by a ludicrous amount. See Fattest Pony and Bunnies.
Meanwhile, poor Fushwin just doesn't have a look in. I mean, her kit is by far more interesting than the approach taken by Aventurine.
Probably the reason we don't have any battery characters is because they realized that their only other abundance character that isn't named Aventurine or post-Aventurine characters that still sees play is Wowo, because there are so few batteries.
Yeah, because I mean, Wowo, I feel like Wowo's kit is sort of where healing should be. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they got it more or less right there. She does the right amount of buffing, like it's effective, but it's not like game breaking. She has a little bit of energy restore, which is the closest thing she's got to a game breaking ability, and her healing is really good and enough to sustain a team. But it's not enough to make their team invulnerable, and you've got to pay to keep it running. Like, they got it about right with Wowo. It's everything after that where it started to disintegrate.
It's basically the Aventurine and post-Aventurine world. Why does his talent refresh the shield? That's all they had to do to fix it.
I really don't understand why it's like that. It basically means you don't have to do anything with him.
Yeah, like
he automatically makes the team invulnerable. But the thing is, like, I see posts from people online saying that Aventurine is useless because their team keeps dying. Like, what are they doing? How are they managing to bring this course of events to pass?
You might have to sacrifice a little bit of the crit damage on Adventuring and get some defense. Maybe just a little bit, not a lot. I don't have a crap load of defense on him, but I run a defense light cone and a defense chest piece. And I'm functionally immortal unless something shoots through shields.
Well, didn't they add a really bonkers 4-star to the game that works really well with Adventuring recently? I'm pretty sure one of the Battle Pass ones, like the one that's indicated the strongest, is the one that's like got Jade written across the front, basically.
Oh, the one that my Jade is now using, yes.
But there was another one that I seem to recall was basically an Adventuring 4-star light cone. But
he's using Jeopard's light cone from me. I got it in the standard banner at some point.
The Jeopard. I can't even remember what Jeopard's one does. I don't know if I've got it or not.
It's defense something. It's a stat stick with a bunch of defense on it. It's proc.
So you're basically just using it as a stat stick.
Yeah, pretty much. It might have a relevant proc. I don't remember. It doesn't matter with Adventuring.
Why? This is such a bad wiki. Oh my goodness, why are they... This is such a bad wiki. I don't know, why is every fandom wiki so atrociously assembled?
Especially after fandom went to crap, it just... It seems to have fallen apart.
My goodness, this is just so incompetently built. That nothing is in a sensible place.
Nope, that's a naked duck ratio.
Why?
Because that's his light cone.
So it's this Journey Forever Peaceful. Increases wearer's provided shield effect by 12%, and when any ally target has a shield, the damage dealt increases by 12%.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts. The one I'm using right now is increases the wearer's defense by 24%, effect hit rate by 24%, and makes it more likely for the wearer to be attacked.
Do you need EHR?
A little. It depends on what team you're running him in. You don't really need it. He'll usually land that crit damage taken debuff, but he has missed it before. So you need a little bit. I don't know if he's got some baked into the kit or what, or if it's just got a really high chance to land normally. But I have seen it miss with 0 EHR before I put that light gun on him.
Anyway, yeah, so I was sort of expecting a bit of a muddled patch this time because the 3.5, 3.6 Frontier was where they were jamming a lot of features in. As far as adding things like the story mode, replay, and that sort of thing are all coming in 3.6. So I expect that there's going to have been from like 3.4, 3.5, 3.6 are all going to be very messy patches where they're shuffling a lot of resources around. But considering they've had a couple of like patches running of quite negative reception, there's probably going to be a lot of running around with hair on fire taking place at MiHoYo at the moment, because they're just not really delivering the sorts of things that are bringing back the PR that they need. They're making quite a bit of money, but all of that money will have come in off of Finon, because number one, you've got the Kevin fans, and number two, you've got the ladies in the community who just went absolutely gaga for Finon because he's a white-haired Bishonen. So it was obvious that they were going to make a lot of money on that, and if you look at the Sensor Tower numbers, they did in fact make the GDP of a small country off of that gacha. But that's not going to apply to this patch, because this patch has got Hysolins, which is a niche character for people who were dot fanatics back in the day like me, and Siridra, who has the most mid kit of any premium harmony since Sparkle. And Sparkle is arguably more useful because she actually does have a niche now, whereas Siridra's only niche is being a dedicated Finon support. So only the people who are both meta slaves and Finon people are going to pull for Siridra, and they don't even need to, because Siridra is technically a side grade from Bronya.
Yeah.
depending on how you want to play it. So this is going to be a very unrewarding patch.
They're
Evernight's likely going to be in the next one, and Evernight will probably pull in quite a few people, but probably not fine on numbers. And the patch following that will probably be where Cyrene gets to step onto the stage as a player. There's
they're-
not many details about Cyrene at the stage, but what has been leaked so far from early versions is that she's kind of a gimmick character. Her most probable team is likely going to be the team where she's most likely going to appear as a premium is probably also going to be Castoras's team, but her gimmick in the current prototype is that she basically gives buffs to flame chasers, to other Chrysos heirs, and depending on which Chrysos heir it is, they will get a different buff from her. So she can go in any Chrysos heir centric team. So her premium team being Castoras is basically only based on the fact that number one, early prototype numbers, which won't hold, and number two, the Castoras team is the most powerful Chrysos heir team at the moment.
Maybe she'll finally bring the Aglaia team up a bit, make its stat requirements
Could
a little less stringent to meet.
Could be. That's probably what she's being used. Is probably going to band-aid all of the problems with Crisis Air teams that are underperforming. Like the Mighty teams are not performing well. They're performing, but they're not performing well. Aglaia teams, like Aglaia is still like, for the people who can run a perfect Aglaia, is still one of the most powerful teams in the game. Can outperform most other teams. The problem is getting to that level is almost impossible.
Yeah, you need a very specific set of characters right now, and that's not enough. You need to roll
specific characters and perfect stats and perfect speed tuning.
Yeah, it is a tough team to build.
The floor to get that team running is really high, but the ceiling is the highest in the game, arguably. Because basically, at some point, Aglaia's the only one who gets to take turns anymore. Basically. So yeah, they're probably going to use Cyrene as a band-aid to finalize the positions in the meta of all the Chrysos heirs as they round out the arc.
Yeah. Maybe they're just really banking on Bubble Tummy. Maybe they think that'll get them enough pulls.
She's very pretty, but she does have bubbles in her tummy.
Really want to know what happens if she drinks a Sprite. If you stick some Mentos in there, does it explode?
I don't know. It's probably magic water. Anyway, I've rabbited on long enough. I'll leave it there.
All right. I don't have a week.
That was easy.
That's why I let Vol go on so long and interjected with his, because played the story. It's parts of it are hit or miss, but I don't have a whole lot of strong feelings to it. We just don't have enough time with these characters to really attach to them, and they haven't been around for a zillion events like the event Aeon of Hyacinth and Fattest Pony. So yeah, the Star Rail patch had moments, like some parts of it, didn't like others. And yeah, that was that.
It's basically what we call, in any other context, that would be called being a normal story.
Yeah. But with the selling point being the story in this game, I'm really feeling my preference for not doing piecemeal stories come back to bite me here, especially with this one. And if they try and do another mega story like this again, I'm gonna give it several patches before I check in every so often. Because
I mean, if the selling point is a story, there's not really anything wrong with doing that. It's not like they've put any challenging content in the story anymore. This is not like in Penacony where Adventuring spanks you up and down for an hour.
Yeah, I really wish they would adopt a way for us to use rental characters for story. Just find a way to find appropriate characters for each boss, and let us choose to use rental if we want the proper difficulty experience. ZZZ does this quite well most of the time. But they don't.
Yeah, I mean, if I compare it with what feels like almost the most direct comparison narratively, like there was very little combat ultimately in the whole Flame Chase saga as I played it through the story portion in Honkai Impact Third. Like there are a few bosses in very key locations, but they pretty much just babysit you through them because, well, you can play them on hard mode, but hard mode requires you to have really developed characters, especially if you're playing them at the time that they're current. But generally speaking, they don't make you use rental characters. They just pitch the difficulty at the level that you choose. So you actually get given a difficulty selector before you start the boss fight, and you can play like the trivial mode where you just revive every time you die type of thing, or the normal mode, which is where you can sort of spam your way through with undeveloped characters, provided you don't stand in fire, and the actually challenging mode where you have to play. If you can't dodge, you'll die.
Yeah. So I do wish they would find a way to help that a bit and put more of the game in the game. Because the all story combat, if you have any kind of developed characters on your account, is just you would have to go out of your way to make some really fuzzy decisions to to nerf yourself. So where the stories fights are appropriate, and I feel like there's a more elegant solution to this, but yeah, that's I don't have any strong feelings on this current uh patch other than what was mentioned before, and the localization this time being the localizer must have been drunk.
I think the localizer is just being a typical Ian localizer. They're a failed writer who wants to do writing.
Yeah, they
Because that's like Ian localization in a nutshell, right? Is people who've washed out of creative enterprise.
yeah. So yeah, um, what can I talk about to give Fern a bone because he doesn't have anything when we talk about Star Rail.
No, I do not. There's unfortunately there's not really a whole lot of news or anything this week.
Oh, I know a bone I could throw at you. One thing I did play this week. Eekum, Bokum.
Yeah, you got to get Eekum Bokums out.
So I blitzed through Banjo Kazooie, the first one.
Hmm?
And it's probably
When you
been.
say blitz, do you mean 100% as fast as possible, or just finish the story?
I mean, it was crazy how much of that game I just remembered, despite it being a decade and a half since I last played it. Like I was able to 100% that game in less than 4 hours. It felt like, aside from Rusty Bucket Bay and Click Clock Wood, those took like an hour and a half each.
Yep.
But yeah, just those, they were on the Switch 2's online now, and I was like, I want to play Banjo. I was
Is it
like,
only Switch 2 or is it
it's on Switch 1 as well.
okay, cool.
You do need the online subscription though to do it, but that's like $15 a year. It's the only thing
Yeah,
Nintendo
you
doesn't.
fire it up for a month, you tear through those games, you put it down again. It's
Well,
fine.
yeah, it's like Nintendo's online is like the only thing they don't rip you off on. So I buy it annually, and it's super cheap.
Well, not anymore. When they first put out that expanded pass, it really was not worth it.
Yeah, no. Now it's fine. It's the cheapest of the onlines you have to pay for when it comes to those type of services. But
Yeah, it's grown into it.
so yeah, zipped through Banjo Kazooie and got started on Banjo Tooie, and it was surprising just how much that game is ingrained in my brain. Like the accessing the file cabinets in my memory for where all the jiggies were and where all the collectibles were, and knowing the past for all the notes. I did not expect it to remain that fresh after a decade and a half, but those games are just kind of, they got a timeless charm to them that I guess just makes it stick in there. And I had a lot of fun going through them again. I'm still going through Banjo Tooie, but it just,
Actually, that reminds me. Let's see. There's also talk of that redo of ukulele.
yeah, I'm not very sanguine on ukulele.
Redoing it? Why are they redoing it already?
This has been like a decade since it came out.
Yeah,
But
and it was fine, I
I,
guess.
I'm
I just
not.
didn't think that there was a sort of demand.
Yeah, I am not happy with the ukulele devs. When they joined the culture war hard.
Yeah,
So I don't. I'm not going in on anything ukulele. I had already got the key for supporting the game initially, but when they kicked Jontron off because he's a Nazi or whatever they decided from his little guest appearance, I was like, oh y'all are all in on this crap. I don't want to give y'all any money.
just go away.
Well, they may or may not be all in. They might just be, you know, gutlessly capitulating.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, it
You can't really
was
tell the difference, to be
much
honest.
as yeah.
Either way, the end result is they lose my dollar. I will not buy any of your expansions, any of your DLC, or any future releases of your stuff related to this product. Period. End. It was so disgusting enough the way they did it that I was just like, nope, because he was in the game at launch, and then they patched him out.
Yeah, like he was only a bit part, but still,
Yeah,
he was a talking outhouse.
yeah, and they specifically did it for culture war reasons. They said so in the patch notes. Like, yep, y'all aren't getting another dime from me.
Yeah, that
Probably
all
just
happened.
like the producer's girlfriend or something just demanded it.
Yeah, it was at the time when Gamergate was really flaring up.
Yeah, it was right around that time frame. So I was like, yep, nope, y'all are done. So I don't want anything to do with ukulele, and don't honestly want to give it any more looks than that. But Banjo Kazooie, however, great
Yeah.
video game.
There's 2 great, fantastic games in that series.
There's only 2 games in that series.
There are.
There,
We don't speak of, the things that do not exist.
well, the Game Boy games are whatever. They're Game Boy games, but
I forgot the Game Boy games. Yeah.
they're made by half THQ, so
Yeah.
not quite.
In which incarnation?
They only assisted the development team, and they were made in that wacky stage where Rare was being bought by Microsoft. So the only reason
Mhm.
Microsoft was okay with letting them do it was because they didn't have a handheld to compete with Nintendo with. So if they made some handhelds for Nintendo, they didn't care, or some handheld games for Nintendo, they didn't care. And even then, most of their developers have been moved over to make Cameo and Viva Pinata and those games. And
Yep.
so the C team was left to make the handheld games, and THQ had to send staff over to help them because THQ had to publish it for the handheld games.
Yeah.
So they're whatever. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're Game Boy Advance games. But there is no Xbox 360 game for Banjo Kazooie. It just
They never made an appearance on that console. No.
nope, never. Definitely didn't make a game with an intro that rubbed all their fans' noses in the face of what they used to love and tell them how terrible it is.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
So yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying my time going back to these games.
Yeah,
Just
it's a shame actually because back in the day I played all the way through and ripped up Banjo Kazooie. I don't think I ever actually played Banjo Tooie.
Tooie's great. The internet loves to hate on it
Tooie, as I
now.
understand it,
Tui,
was
Tui
basically
I
dead.
found was very hard to get in Australasia.
It was.
It was just not around, not available. You couldn't get it
Yeah.
if you wanted it. This was before you
They
could
only-
just buy everything off the internet effortlessly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they only did a limited run for some reason and never re-released it.
yeah. It was all over the place here. Like we had all the commercials. It was in every store. Like it was a big deal when it came out here in the States. And it is really popular right now. I've found on YouTube to hate on Tui. And much for the same reasons that I get onto the people that hate on Donkey Kong 64. You motherfudgers don't know what it was like. You know, if you didn't have a strategy guide or know where you're going in Banjo Tooie, it's fun to just explore and go back to the levels and see if your new powers can do something to it. It's fun to go around these big giant worlds, especially if you play it right after Kazooie, and just see how much they've improved and what they're really experimenting with and trying out. And it's just, even these days when some of these ideas may not have panned out and may not have been the greatest ideas, it's still a lot of fun to go back and see what they did and where they were experimenting with stuff and what worked and what didn't. But people
Yeah.
nowadays are like, oh, you go backtrack. You just got a couple of jiggies that take multiple steps. Shut up, crybabies.
just shut up.
Yeah, it's fun, good, heartwarming time with timeless comedy and timeless characters that just will always make you happy.
Can't be that many people who care enough about Banjo-Tooie to be picking on it right now. Come on. It's
It's
so old.
I've seen so many. I was trying to look up some YouTube videos of Banjo-Tooie, just to get a feel for what people thought of it, because I originally wasn't going to go and full replay Kazooie and Tooie. But when I searched for stuff, it was always like Tooie, the worst one, the bad one. Just video after video of people bagging on Tooie and just the titles alone. I clicked on a few of them, and their complaints are so stupid. But this seems to be the dominant opinion on YouTube, is that Tooie was just a inferior sequel because you have to backtrack.
That sounds to me that like there was probably one or two people who thought that, and they're entitled to their opinion.
And
And everybody else is just a bandwagoner because
Yeah.
this is how it works on YouTube.
Yeah, this is how it seems to work.
Like there in social media, there is usually only like one or two people who hold opinions, and everybody else is just going to their tastemaker to find out what their opinion should be.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you'll either have everyone will move in lockstep and agree with that opinion, or everyone will take that opinion and shred it. And there's nothing else in between.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember loving every bit of Tooie except for some parts of Pterodactyl Land and Grunty Industries, but I'm excited to go back and slowly go through that game. It is much longer than Kazooie. Kazooie you can beat in a couple afternoons, especially if you remember where you're going.
Did they ever do that? Because I remember before Tooie came out, they pitched this idea that it would be a cartridge that you would plug Banjo-Kazooie into the top of.
So okay, here was the shtick with that. The stop and swap mechanic that they actually implemented, kind of. You could use sandcastle codes to fully unlock the feature, although they bolted it down right when the game came out. And the secret ending actually shows you stop and swap items you can get. And if you got these stop and swap items, the ice key, the little colored eggs in Kazooie from going to the secret areas that Mumbo shows you at the end of the game and stuff, you'd collect them, and they'd go into a special section of the inventory. When you went to view your totals, you could tab over one more time and see stop and swap, and it would show these special items as collected. And you don't need a Game Shark or anything to enable this. It's still in the game code. You just need codes for the sandcastle floor. Turn it back on. So it's fully in the game. It's just turned off for the most part in the main release. And the idea was, when the Nintendo 64 was powered on, if you took a cartridge out and then swapped in another one, it would keep chunks of the old cartridge's information stored in RAM perfectly until it loaded the new cartridge. And they wanted to use this as a way to transfer data. Problem was, while it stored it perfectly, it only held it for about 10 seconds. And Nintendo came to him and was like, look, you're going to have people breaking their consoles if you implement this, trying to swap these things super fast, especially when most of your players are kids. So they abandoned that feature, but they had all these ideas for it, and wanted to at least throw a nod to it, because by then, even the official strategy guides for Banjo-Kazooie had mentioned the stop and swap, and told people how to use the sandcastle codes to re-enable it. So what they did is, in Banjo-Tooie, I think it's different if you play the 360 version, but on the N64 and by extension the Switch version, what you can do is there are some areas in the overworld, because the Isle of Hags is much bigger than Grunty's Lair, that are way off the beaten path in the first few areas that require a few upgrades to get to. And you will find a Banjo-Kazooie cartridge with eyeballs running around. And if you smack it...
It's Banjo-Kazooie, everything's going to have eyeballs.
Yeah, and if you smack it, one of the stop and swap items will pop out of it. And then you can go take that to either Heggy the Hen if it's an egg, or to the Ice Vault if it's the ice key, to get a bonus. And the best one is the ice key one because it gives you the Mega Globo that you can take to Humbo's wigwam, and
You're
uh,
saying a bunch of words here, man.
and it lets you turn Kazooie into a dragon permanently in for the rest of the game if you want,
But why though?
because it's funny.
Fair enough.
The idea that I remember being pitched back in the day was that the Banjo-Tooie cartridge would have a socket to plug another cartridge into, mounted into the top of it, so that you could plug your Banjo-Kazooie cartridge into the top of your Banjo-Tooie cartridge.
Yeah, I do. I do recall somebody mentioning, maybe in an interview with one of the Rare employees, that that was a consideration after they got the initial version of Stop and Swap shot down.
Yeah, go the Banjo Kazooie and Knuckles route.
But that ended up not manifesting. Instead, we just have literal Banjo Kazooie packs with eyeballs hidden away in nowhere corners of the overworld map.
Yeah, that's a shame, but it's understandable because yeah, you don't, especially those days. Swapping cartridges is not a thing you do while the console is on. You just don't do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's sort of like against the rules.
yeah, so they went against all that. But yeah, I just going through these games and seeing these very simple characters that just have a lot of, well, character to them. Like they're fun cartoon characters. They have dumb jokes. Some of them are meta. Some of them are totally serious and playing it straight. Some of them, but they're all funny. They're just fun. Like it's just good, wholesome fun. These games. Part of it is,
Just fun.
yeah, not an insubstantial amount of it is, I grew up with these characters and in these games, so there is the nostalgia going on a bit there, but it's more than that. It's the genuine care that they put into when these characters when they wrote them, and just trying to make them fun is something you don't see anymore in games. The idea of something being fun is alien to the modern game design crowd. Like,
Fun for the sake of fun.
yeah, like their objective when they made Banjo Kazooie was, we want to make a fun video game. We have these ideas for these characters and this type of game, and we're gonna throw some stuff at the wall. Some of it's gonna stick, some of it's not, and we're just gonna have fun with it. And you can tell that the whole way you're going through Kazooie. And there's genuine creativity there. A world where that has 4 doors, where each one goes into a different season of the world as you progress through it. Like that's genuinely creative stuff they're trying. Did it work very well? Hit or miss, but it's fun the whole way through. They populated it with a bunch of fun characters and a few good jokes in there, so I'll take it.
But that was what constituted Rare as a company back then. That was what they did.
Yeah. But yeah. So that Rare doesn't exist anymore, sadly, and that idea of developing games that way doesn't exist anymore. So I'll take.
Remember those clowns concocted Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are like 50 origin stories for Conker's Bad Fur Day, and about half of them start with, "We were drunk one night at the bar."
I mean, aside from that bit, I'm not sure how true the rest of those stories are.
Yeah, I get the feeling we'll never know exactly how Conker's Bad Fur Day came into existence, but it did.
Yeah, alcohol was definitely involved. We know that much.
So
I wouldn't mind playing Conker's Bad Fur Day again. The original, not the Xbox 360 release, which was very strange. Because they went through it and they had a censor go at it just to try and shave some of the corners off it. But it was the single most inconsistent job of censoring I've ever seen.
And
yeah,
it has Soprano.
It does have Soprano. And they censored Soprano.
Oh, right, they censored his song.
Yeah, but then every other part of that scene where he's not singing but says shit, it's not censored. So, yeah, go figure. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I suspect there was alcohol involved.
Yeah, this is the game where one of the earliest characters you meet is the sunflower with ginormous honkers.
And you use her for platforming.
That is very bouncy. And in fact,
very bouncy.
Can convey that bounce to you.
Hey, there's a treasure for it too.
Yeah, poor
You actually
Conker.
got to do it to beat the game.
Yeah, poor Conker's Bad Fur Day. It came out after the N64 was basically over. It was one of the last major releases to come out for it, and the GameCube was well and truly into its hype cycle. And it was rated M, so they had to run ads in like Playboy and stuff. They couldn't run it in like Nintendo Power or any of the places you would normally see an ad for it. And you certainly can't
Plus, all the pill clutches came out for it too.
Yeah, and there's no way you get an ad for Conker's Bad Fur Day on TV. That's not going to happen.
That was not going to happen.
The Banjo-Tooie commercial is still one of my favorites. They had where you got some guy in a banjo suit, and some ready to jump out of a plane, and this guy looks at him and goes, "You can't jump out of the plane like that. You need a parachute." And Banjo goes, "Don't worry." And the guy in the banjo suit hops out of the plane, and he's falling and falling. And he goes, "Kazooie? Uh-oh!" And just dies when he splats on the ground, and you see Kazooie lounging by the pool. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, dear.
I'll try and find that commercial because it's great.
That era's game commercials was so bizarre.
Yeah. Again, I suspect alcohol was involved. But nowadays, it's like the game will play part of the intro trailer, then they'll throw the title on the screen and say $100 a piece. That's a game trailer now, or a game ad.
Yeah, yeah, okay, this was not hard to find at all. Copy link address.
Slap that in there.
Live show chat, there's your Banjo-Tooie commercial. But yeah.
Speaking of trailers,
I can't find it anything.
Speaking of trailers, the Hysolin character trailer is such a bait and switch. Like it's all sort of like idyllic slice of life, happy fun times in Okama with the Chrysos ears in that earlier period. You know, the sort of thing that nothing like that takes place in the actual story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all grim forever. But that's not what the trailer is like. No. The trailer's all laughs until the end.
Yeah,
Cypher stealing Hysolin's fish.
No. Poor Hysolins. Need to, yeah. So yeah. I don't watch many of the trailers, even for ZZZ. I don't watch all the trailers that come out. And that's the one I follow the closest.
But Alice's trailer has her.
She does kick. I did watch her trailer.
The symmetrical pattern.
I did like Alice's trailer. I like when she kicks the ethereal to make the murder pile symmetrical. I liked her little short trailer too, or her little YouTube short. I'm going to blow out the one on the right as well. Asymmetry makes it scarier. So yeah. Other than that, it's been a week. I've just been very busy at work. I had the day the patch came out for Star Rail, and I basically monogamed it that morning. I couldn't play it the day of right away because I was too tired after work and had to go lay down. But I got up pretty early that morning and just sat down and marathon gamed it. And the rest of my week, I was too tired and too zonked to do anything new or that required focus. And then I just got a sudden urge to go back and play Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie again, so I started that up. And so
That's a good urge.
So that is why people have gotten banjo noises and grunty rhymes and banjo gifts from me this week.
Such good games.
I feel bad for Cheeto. Poor Cheeto.
All right. Well, that's it. There's really no news. So how about we?
Yeah, I tried looking for news earlier, and it was like there's not even enough news in this past week to fill like more than like 3 or 4 pages of your standard, 8 or 10 articles per page news blog. And that's with, them posting every tiny little thing that they do these days because they have to in order for there to be any content. Like freaking Bubsy is in the news again.
Yeah, you know it's a slow news week when Bubsy shows up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Too.
yeah. I've casually looked at the Roblox thing, but don't know enough about it other than the Louisiana Attorney General is now suing them. Uh, and most of the stuff that they're being sued for is hard to talk about with YouTube looming over our heads. We'll definitely
Yeah,
get flagged.
we'll just say that it's a unholy mess and leave it at that, I think.
Yeah. So there's that. Other than that, there has not been any news for the past several weeks, several months really. This really jumped out at me, and there's no games on the horizon that are showing any kind of movement that are in any of our wheelhouses really.
You got Ship of Heroes coming out in a couple of days if you really want something that I'm really not expecting good.
Yeah, like just flicking through all the usual news sites, I just don't see anything. Like if the Atelier Ryza games getting a compilation re-release and the individual versions getting delisted from Steam makes the news, you know you got no news this week. Although
It's been just
the only thing in my wheelhouse that's made some headway is Trails in the Sky remake continues to get new and more stuff, and it seems like the game is going to be even bigger than the original Trails in the Sky. First
That's
chapter.
good.
You have not played Trails in the Sky.
Oh dear.
That is especially second chapter is a ginormous game. If they increase the girth of first chapter, oh boy, that's going to be one meaty, one meaty video game. Because we still got part 2 to come out. That is definitely not going to be included with this release. And them some chunky games, especially part 2. So yeah, I don't see anything.
All right, well, let's wrap it up then.
All right. I've got any closing comments before I send us out?
Hopefully, there's something to talk about next week.
Not really.
Right. I think we're done, folks. We will see you next week, hopefully with more content. There will be no Hoyo content pretty much next week, because all that's happening is banner swap in Genshin, and ZZZ is just in its post-patch beats. We still got like 3 weeks.
I have to hold out against the urge to pull C6 Lali for a few more days.
Yeah, and then Star Rail just had its big patch, so that's going on the back burner.
Got a good 40 days.
Yeah, so all the Hoyo games will be out next week, so hopefully we'll find something else to talk about, because there ain't going to be a whole lot going on in those.
Maybe I'll play Wuthering Waves.
No. I will not be joining you because I need to. I've already got.
You need to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, it's already a chore to get up and do all the dailies and all of them. I don't want to add more to that chore list.
Yeah,
So,
you don't want to add dailies.
So we will see you next week, hopefully with more content. Eekum, Bokum, Woobitaboo.